Hey, what's going on, everyone? Check out what's coming up this week on Legacies.
Miss Genevieve, what a saint, what an angel.
Isn't that incredible? I have not opened this yet.
Everybody needs a banger. It doesn't matter whether it's a $20 piece or $20,000 piece. Everybody needs a nice banger.
This is for you. This is for brothers and sisters I serve with. This is for my family. I got some stuff for my dog because, you know, I got to get him looking badass. So,
yeah, no doubt. Hey, welcome to Legacies, everyone. I'm your host, Tom Ritchie, joined by Wesley the Wizard Bowles, co-host, executive producer, and my go-to for literally every fucking thing I need. I'll still say that, Wes. Everyone needs to be reminded, but I think what's happening by doing so is more and more people continue to reach out to you.
Reach out to me, yeah. Good morning. Good morning, by the way.
Good morning. Good morning. Yeah. Wes, this is a tough episode today. There's so much going on. So much. What the fuck is going on?
What could you possibly be talking about? I have no idea what you mean.
You're going to kill me because I'm just fucking with my mic and I'm doing all this shit. Dude, I don't know. You know me, right? I avoid politics like the plague. And you've got attempted assassinations going on in the U.S., You've got Trudeau and NATO fucking giving speeches to an empty room. I've honestly, I'll tell you this because, and I don't know how much, because we don't get into political conversations too often. We avoid that shit. But you are a Canadian citizen and a U.S. citizen. So you must be just going, what the fuck is
I was also a UK citizen pre and post Brexit. So I got the gambit.
Jeez, man. We will not wade into any thoughts. All I know is I have never paid and been so enthralled with U.S. politics as I am now. What the fuck?
Oh, it's a soap opera. It's a definite soap opera for sure. It's it's just wild. I think, I don't think there's any point us talking about it whatsoever either, just because. No.
It's going on ad nauseum. It's going on.
Plenty of stuff going on, and it just, I don't know. I think it's at this point, it's just down to personal opinion, and I don't know. It's fucking crazy though.
I'm just gonna be over here drinking my shake, minding my own business. Like, I don't even know what to make. Like, people will engage in conversation. I'm like, I don't even want to weigh in. I don't know what the fuck's going on. I guess we'll see. I have no idea.
I guess my only thought on the whole thing is. If you thought, I don't know who thinks that would have been the right decision to make, is to try and kill this guy, right? Because all you're going to do is make him a martyr. Like, that's my only thought on it.
My only comment will be towards the ones and comments that I've seen that are for this. Okay, I'm not even going to mention what it is, but that are for it. Shame on you. Shame on you. At the end of the day, are we not all fucking human? Like, what the fuck? Right? That's all I'll say. Shame on you. But yeah, and to echo that, the opposite would be Trudeau. There's
I'll talk about that side of things,
dude.
All day.
I've stayed out of X as much as possible. One, not because it's a dark place. I'm a big boy. I know how to discern things. But I think with what's going on in the U.S. politics, and then what's going on in foreign government, and also here within Canada, there's a lot of Trudeau shit going on, and I just scratch my head, shake my head. No, I don't think there's any confidence in him as a leader, period, anymore. At all.
No way. No.
Not that there has been for quite some time, but.
Yeah, I think that empty room kind of speaks volumes to where things are at with him right now. And if the Liberal Party's not thinking about, we should probably make a change here, and
That's kind of reminiscent of what's going on the Democratic side of the U.S., right? Step down, get out of the way. I don't know. We've got, you've got seniors on that side. You've got this young, drama school teacher on this side.
Is he that young anymore?
I don't know. I don't even know. I've lost a lot of respect, unfortunately. And again, I don't live that political life. I refuse to. I think that although I'm getting drawn in now, I used to be So just from the business side of things, I used to be huge. Like I've read a lot of Trump books. He co-authored one with Robert Kiyosaki. You know, I'm early days real estate investor, so I followed Trump. I not that I took everything he said as a, you know, for gospel, but watched all The Apprentices. And for me, I was just like, he's just a hard ass business guy, and he says stuff to increase ratings, right? That was before all the political stuff going on. So whatever. And then, you know, to go into our, let's sound like old people talking about the weather. We cannot ignore this. I'm sorry to our,
No, we can't. 'Cause
what the fuck? Dude, there's more fucking rain. My wife and I are constantly about this. I got stuck outside, take the dogs out, and all of a sudden it downpours again. I think it rained here. So we're about an hour and a half so west of Toronto. And storm, like it was morning, gone. Rain, back again. It just on and off, on and off. And then obviously we see the results in the GTA, and especially, you know, Don Valley Parkway, and the flooding,
Burlington,
Drake's
where
house.
I am.
No.
Yeah, where I am as well. There's floods everywhere. There's just tons
Well,
of
you're
people
right
that
near
were
the water.
evacuated.
Yeah. Has that risen? Like, can
No,
you
I
noticeably see
think
that? Like,
I think Burlington has a natural slope towards the lake. So
Okay.
right where we are, we're pretty fine. But as you get a little bit closer to the green to the I want to say the escarpment.
the
I think that's what it
escarpment.
is. But
Yeah.
as you get a little closer to that, people are in trouble. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Well, it was so bad that, you know, so Kind Summer Fair Festival, we'll call it Kind Summer something. That was going on yesterday. Everyone reaching out, are you going to be there? This week is so jam packed. Us, we can't move we never move our schedule. For those that are listening, you think we're dicks. We just don't come to things on Wednesdays. It's our set studio time. We're booked out with guests 2 months in advance. We don't change it. It's the one thing that we don't change. Although,
But you also like to be in bed by 8 p.m. So
yeah, it's 7:30 on a good day. As soon as Jeopardy's done, I'm in bed. Yeah, go back and check your slacks from last night.
yeah.
But yeah, I think that, you know, for us, it's just set schedule. We have to keep it. Otherwise, things just get fucking crazy out of control. We wanted to be at Kind, obviously. A lot of great brands, a lot of great people are there, but they had to cancel yesterday. And I think the thing that, you know, Jazz called me earlier and he's talking about some of these things, and I'm like, oh shit, right? The 420 affairs coming up, like any issues. But I was joking with him saying, the comments I'm seeing from Kind's post about having to cancel, like, it's just ludicrous. Like, you know, I get it. You're out of place, right? You may have taken time off work. You may have taken flights into Toronto. You can't control this, you know, you can't control this stuff. It's Mother Nature. Nothing you can do about it. And it's an outdoor event. So even if it wasn't flooded, who the fuck wants to stand in that much rain? Not me.
That's true. Yeah. What do you want them to do, right? Like, I haven't read any of those comments. I'm surprised.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
some people were pretty
so
upset.
so many people going, how could you cancel this? Why did you cancel this? Well, I'm like, fucking open the window. Like, Noah's Ark's heading down fucking DVP. Like, Jesus. Like,
Well, I mean, depending on how long your flight was here, if you flew in, get your tickets to 420 Affair this Thursday.
there you go. If there's still space, I understand that Jazz had to open up some more space in the banquet hall for this. So it's going to be a great event. Great brands, great people. Again, it's our people. You know, everyone getting together. Early days. It's still early days, even if we're 6-7 years into it. It's still early days. And we finally got to connect with David Brown. We've been playing, you know, kind of, what do you call it?
Cat and mouse?
Cat and mouse. No, it's the one when you call someone and you leave messages. Phone tag? Phone tag.
Yeah.
Jeez. My head's not thinking or working right this morning. But anyways, we finally got a meeting with him. We do have him scheduled. You know, I think our audience is starting to learn by now, the vast majority of our news sources come from Stratcann. Always on top. And we joked when we finally got on a call with him. We're like, how fucking big is your team, man? Like, seriously. He's like, it's only a few people. I'm like, man, you're on top of it all. So obviously there's a lot of things coming out right now, right? You've got Avante Is it Avant or Avanti? I don't know what they go by, but
I butcher names, you know me.
I'll
so
call
I'm
it
not even gonna
Avant.
attempt it.
Avant Cannabis. They've put out their H1 results for 2024, Q1, H1. Not in great position, although I don't know. I can't make a lot of sense out of it. The biggest and most staggering to me was the amount of money that they had spent or lost in the sales side. I think it was like $9 million. I get it. There's a lot of granular activity to all of those reported losses, how it affects your EBITDA. I don't know. But on top of that, you've got Delta 9. They filed for CCAA protection too, right?
Well, we should get on to Delta 9, but the other striking number you told me about that Avant one was the 14 million or so in lost product. What was
asset,
that?
yeah, asset. Well, and again, so what's classified as asset losses? Is this from acquiring? So let's not forget, Avant Cannabis is Black Market, and Black Market is a very successful brand across Canada, and it's an incredible product. But then they also have some that I'm not familiar with, but I think there's Tree Hugger under them, and I don't remember the other one off the top of my head. So is it through acquisition activities? You know, they're involved with you remember the Flower Group out Okanagan or Delta, wherever Flower Group was. So it could be through acquisition and then having to write off certain assets, maybe stuff kicking around in vault. I don't know. Biological assets. I don't know. I haven't dug into, there's just so much coming at us that I just don't have time to consume it all. Which is why it'd be nice to have David on to explain this stuff. And who knows, maybe we can pull him in every once in a while just to speak to this. Cause he's, if out of anyone, he is the most on top of the news and what's moving in this industry for sure. So anyways, yeah. And then Delta 9, CCAA, you remember these names are all coming up, right? You remember they're all customers of ours way back.
Yeah, that was a tough one to hear just because especially from the support side of things, I remember interacting with Delta 9 almost daily. They were on top of everything and
yeah, it seemed like a great company, but again, it's the pressures of this industry. It's, it's not always operations. It's sometimes, and I think, going back to the Avant, it's, there was $2 million in excise taxes to be paid out of that. $2 million. Like,
it's no small number.
It's no small number. Anyways, hopefully they get their house in order. It sounds like they've got a plan. But anyways, I just don't know where they get the money from. Like, because you just hear the horror stories, right? You can't raise any capital, all these things going on. But anyways, so Delta 9, CCAA, and then you've got Sundial layoffs too, right? Is that what it is? Is Sundial's laying off 100 plus staff, something like that for
correct.
restructuring?
Sundial to lay off 106 employees as part of their restructuring.
Yeah.
That's
That's
hard to talk to
unfortunate.
those people. Layoffs absolutely suck, especially right now.
They're horrible. And especially when you're in this space, because it's not like you have so many companies with open arms accepting entrance into it, right? Like there's just not a lot of positions right now to be filled. Some companies, obviously they are, but it's really tough. Yeah, I don't know what to make of it, because then you've got, what else is going on there? There's something with FICA as well in Sundial too, right? Do you recall what that was?
Yeah, I'm here right now. I'm trying to look into I think that's mentioned on the Delta 9 article. Let's see, where's this here? It just sucks that those 106 people like that, those people's jobs are they're obviously related to this whole Delta 9 piece, right? Because Sundial being a primary creditor, or senior creditor as it's quoted on there.
Right.
So it looks like FICA will participate in the participate in and fund the cost of Delta 9's CCAA proceedings through interim financing and present one or more plans of compromise or arrangements in Delta 9's creditors. So
I don't know. It's the big ones are just standing out. You've got Avant in the news, you've got Delta 9 in the news, and you've got Sundial, for better or worse, right? It just depends. Crazy. And there's more. I mean, these are kind of just the bigger top ones that
we're not done yet.
We're not even close. Anyways, and then we caught also Stratcann, right? If you need a news source, Stratcann should be your I mean, subscribe. We're smart enough. We get them to our inbox, but also across all socials, you see David and team consistently posting. But there's something that was new to me. You brought this up, was the BC sampling program. And one thing that I had no idea of, shows how broad this industry is and how much there is still to learn. There's a marketing license within the province of BC.
Yeah, the marketing license kind of enrolls in where they're allowed to, because they're allowed to do samples, right? And it used to be that you had to pay what was it here? You had to pay a nominal fee for product samples, right? So it wasn't like you were able to give away free samples and things like that. But
Right.
so part of this marketing license change allows for that.
Well, I think they had tabled it back in September of last year, and now it's certain aspects of it are coming into effect. We'll post a link to the article because it's very interesting, and I think the stark difference between what I've read of that and Ontario is you've got to keep track. So we already know in sampling, just by the regulations, Health Canada regulations, and the Cannabis Act, is that they're supposed to be properly excise tax, stamped. You're supposed to record where it's going, et cetera, et cetera. And in BC, it goes even further, right? So even if you're receiving, you are to record the receipt of. And obviously, you can't sample to the general public. We know some events do. But yeah, you've got to keep complete record of what's going out, was it stamped, the lot numbers, the SKU IDs, whatever it might be, who's receiving it. And then as a receiver, you're also supposed to track that.
Correct.
Try that in Ontario. Will it come to Ontario? I don't know, but I can tell you 90% of brands and companies are offside.
Well,
Like,
when
just
I'm getting a black tube as a sample with a white printed sticker on there that just has the cultivar name on the
Yeah. There's that. The one where I see where those fall short are, they've even gone as far as to put an excise stamp on it, but then literally no product information, nothing. I don't know the brand. I had two from the grow up that were like that. No idea who the brand was. All it said was the strain on it. No idea. We got to get better in some areas. So 420 affair will be a good indicator. Let's see what the sampling looks like there. I'm assuming that there is some. I know Jazz has the Astro. Did you see the video that Jazz had posted the other day with the Astro Boys? So it's an Astro Boys edition dope box going out. So they're available at the event, but then he's also sending a ton out. 1,100 boxes getting packed.
distribution, baby.
The banquet hall walls were stacked with folded boxes. These programs, especially the dope box for us, they just make so much sense. I was talking to a buyer at a retailer yesterday, and they had no idea about the dope box. They immediately signed up, but he's like, "This is fucking smart. Like, why aren't more doing this?" And I'm like, "There are some. I just don't think you hear about them." And as present as Jazz and Dope Box and Dank Reviews are in the market, even this retailer wasn't aware of it. So, to me, it's just it makes the most sense, right? You get all those aggregated products into one box. You've got feedback cards. You've got everything you need, right? And then you can follow up.
the one other nice piece about the dough box so far as well has been there seems to be a nice variety of different brands, week to or box to box.
That's right.
I think I've seen a couple of other kind of sampling programs like that, but it seems to be very similar brands, kind of over and over. I haven't seen a ton of craft representation, ton of these smaller guy representation in some of these boxes, and
They'll come on.
Yeah.
There is one, I did catch that, Dom Jackson, who we haven't connected with yet, but I've heard great things about products. I think they're doing a special edition. It'll be dedicated Dom Jackson dope box. And they're a smaller craft producer. So nice to see that happening. Excuse me. So in the sampling front, we do have Jeff Curtis will be joining us from Borrow and Beyond, also TruQuartz, someone who's been very active in the space when it comes to activations and pop-ups and dab bars and, really advocating for cannabis lounges. So we'll have him on very shortly, actually within the next few minutes, I guess. So we'll have him weigh in on this BC sampling because some of it was just crazy. Look at you getting a bag of goodies out. Is there something you need to say, mister?
I have to do a shameless plug just because I enjoyed it so much. So I'm going to do a live one.
Okay.
Give me a minute here while I.
Well, how about you prep for that one, and I've got a surprise for you.
This is my literal bag of.
Jesus.
There's some shit in here.
Well, I haven't shared with you and the team yet, but our friends over at Stewart Farms, they were extremely, extremely generous and sent us a care package. And, you know, so the rebound product we've tried, we've ran into Tanner at Grow Up and he's like, you guys got to try this. And it was literally as we were leaving, you guys got to try this. And you've used it on literally everything, I think, you know, even mosquito bites. Anyways, they sent over the heaviest care package I've ever received. But not only that, pull up to the community mailbox, get out of my SUV. All I can smell is lavender. So it's in the big parcel pickup one. And I'm like, holy shit, I am not going to show you everything. We have not had a chance to try this yet. And I even was smart enough, Wes, to get my magic marker out today. So here's another rebound product. And here's the thing. They sent duplicates of each. So when I get to see you Thursday, perfect. You've got, because I've got more. But wait, there's more. So Stewart Farms sent over, obviously, you know, what I love about them is they're just so innovative, right? Like, because you don't see a lot of these products happening. So I'm going to open this, and I was careful enough to turn the THC logos around. So these are their bath bombs. There's a bunch of different ones. This is the Citrus Farmer, and we will, once we get a chance to experience some of these products, we will certainly talk more about them. But look at that, like 3 bath bombs. These ones are citrus notes, but 100 milligrams THC, CBD, and 100 milligrams of CBD. So fucking cool. So cool. And look at this, excise stamped the way it should be.
Beautiful.
The way it should be. But dude, there's so much. I can't even bring it all out. There's so much. Here's another rebound product. This is a 250 THC CBD. This is a turmeric and arnica, another rebound product. Excise stamped.
Is that another bomb? Like
this is a salve. It's a balm. It's a balm.
Yeah.
So there's that. There's some creams that are also under the rebound side of things, the lavender field. So this is a little bit lower THC, higher CBD. So haven't had a chance to open them and try them. Oh, cool. So it's pump cream. Very cool.
Oh, nice.
But I'm really excited because there was one on top, only one.
What does that say? Daily Grape.
Daily Grape. Now look.
Miss Genevieve.
Yeah.
What a saint.
Yeah.
What an angel.
Isn't that incredible? I have not opened this yet. I'm going to do it right now. I won't pull it out.
Yeah, just smell it.
The team over there, I mean, they're so good. They're just so good. They're all incredible people. Obviously, we've had Genevieve on the show. Holy shit. I don't think this product's in market. Like, not in Canada.
Don't pull that out of the bag.
I'm just
right
squishing her up a little bit. The broccoli inside. Dude, like, you have no fucking idea. Seriously, you will come Thursday. Oh my God. And these guys do not use any botanical terps. This is grape. Like, it is grape. Genevieve, thank you. We didn't know we would get it. We were hoping, but this is so kind of you. Thank you so much. And Tanner and Mike, the team is just incredible over there. So we want to show the support. I love that they're in this category of their own almost, right? Dealing in the topical side of things. And I think I fucked the package, dude. These packages, it's not Stewart Farms' problem. This is just...
Yeah, you're not great with those. You're not great with those.
But anyways, very kind, very kind. And I've got one more before you show what you want to show. So when I come, like I said, there's so many more products than what they sent. But I've got one more for you, buddy, when I come to see you. I got a shirt for you.
That's it. That's a beautiful shirt. Yep.
Yeah.
That's the only logo.
Come on, Taylor Guitars are pretty nice guitars too.
Yeah.
But I thought if I'm ordering a guitar shirt for myself, we got to get one for you too. Don't worry, Ian. When you finally start playing an instrument, we'll get you something.
Ian can keep playing with his fish.
I stopped for coral. All right, what do you got?
I went to, as you know, I went to the Chili Peppers concert on Monday night.
Yeah.
And that was wild. I just want to say I was outrageously high for this concert. Like, so I did the mistake of combining edibles with joints, and I don't know, it was I was really high for
Or
this
not the
concert.
mistake, depending.
No, maybe not, but I'll tell you what got me there was, and these taste amazing. So this is, cover that. Pistol in Paris,
Oh, Pistol in Paris. Mr. Dylan King. We still need him
Or-
on the show.
orange Ting'z pre-rolls.
I've heard so many good things about that. About all their
Unbelievable.
products, number one.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Really, really nice.
And those are pre-rolls, obviously.
Yeah, 3.2% on the terps.
Wow.
Not even going to read the THC number because no one cares anymore.
They shouldn't care.
They shouldn't care. Oh my! As soon as you open these, the smell is. Because I did try. I'm not going to say who because I won't mention brand names of products I don't like. I don't think that's fair. I'll
don't
just
do
say
that.
that I don't like them. And but I have tried a recent brand's strawberry cough pre-rolls, and opening that bag, I could instantly tell. I was like, this just smells like it's been sprayed with strawberry
Yeah.
nastiness. This, on the other hand, when you open this, you can tell it's the terps you're smelling. You're not smelling anything else.
Wow.
Burned really nice, and yeah, I just
Well, from everything I know,
phenomenal.
everything I know about Pistol in Paris is they source the best. The best, which, and again, I've heard a lot of great things about Orange Ting'z and some of their other ones that they bring in, but I forget which one it was. We did try one a couple months back, and it got a High Flyer approved.
We did. I can't remember which one that was, but we did.
yeah.
But I'll just say too, so Pistol in Paris, I sparked that up right as Frusciante was wailing up a solo, and it was perfect.
I saw clips of Flea being Flea, and I thought, you're just going to be in your fucking element as a bass player. Yeah, and just thinking, man, I'm fucking jealous. That was the first concert that my wife and I went on a date to. It was a Chili Peppers
Was it?
concert. Yeah, way back. I forget what the fuck it was called. Rogers something? Was it the Rogers Center? I don't know. Doesn't matter.
Oh, the Molson Empathy? Oh, no.
No, it was it doesn't matter. I had nosebleed. I was lucky to even get tickets because I kept trying literally all fucking day, and I managed to get some. They were nosebleed, but they weren't bad other than the echo because the Chili Peppers are loud.
They're a stadium band.
Oh,
for sure.
yeah. Big time. Anyways, so one other thing that we should mention as well is Lake and Bake is coming. Have you seen Chino's Adventures? He's been posting a ton. So ninja style. Been dropping posters to different dispensaries. Super cool. Great team, Brendan and Chino over there at Ganja Glam. Lake and Bake is August 17th on the River Gambler. It's a Toronto Harbor cruise. It's 4 hours, plus there's tailgating ahead of time. There will be, I think, a minimum of 10 brands present. Anyways, get your tickets. All the chatter I've seen so far, this is going to sell out.
Oh, absolutely.
Like 100%. And I haven't had a chance to connect with Brandon in a little bit, but I think we're getting close. So if you are anticipating going to this event, get your tickets for Lake and Bake, August 17th. This is different. This is a different event.
It's a completely different event.
Completely different event. It's a party. So open air boat. Yeah, it should be wild. Should be wild. And I am trying my best. I leave the next day for holidays. I need to go to this too, but then I'm going in the complete opposite direction the next day. I gotta figure it out. I don't know. Fucking doing it all. But anyways. Okay, well, let's get Jeff Curtis in because I've been excited to talk to him for a while about the consumption spaces. Because as we see, there's a lot changing in Ontario, and we primarily pay attention to, and it's not on purpose. It's just that's where the vast majority of the news and the changes are is Ontario and BC. Alberta, obviously, they're a little bit more progressive in the event space, which is meaning you at least have consumption zones at some of these spaces and apply for that. And I think you can start, there is some sponsorship opportunity or promotional or advertising opportunities. We need to just keep pushing, keep fighting. This will happen. I'm sure what was the most prominent Bev Elk that you saw, but it was at Budweiser stage, right?
Yes.
So
Budweiser
between,
stage.
God, probably Corona and Budweiser, of course.
Yeah, Corona had their own complete booths, like bar area. Yeah, it was there's alcohol everywhere. Yeah.
Man, the last
Small
time I
beer
was
was-
there was Queens of the Stone Age, and I had said to the buddy that I went with, I said, listen, fast forward 10 years, 5 years, hopefully, but it won't be just beer. You'll be able to go up and you can get a sheesh soda. Oh, I do need to mention this. Dabble cannabis, right?
Yep.
Another rosin beverage coming to market. Thank God. Because yesterday I was in, I'm sorry to all the other beverage companies that I do not consume. I just, it's rosin for me. Change my mind. If you see me, change my mind. But I'm sorry, sheesh, Matt, we love you. Continue doing what you do. Anyways, I stopped in, had to get some raindrops yesterday. I'm like, where's your sheesh sodas? They're like, we're sold out. They're always fucking sold out. I need to figure out a way just to buy a couple cases and just, that is my beer fridge now, which is no longer beer. It's my cannabis fridge. But anyways, I'm like, do you have anything else? Cause I'm unaware of maybe these, well-informed bud tenders. Do you have any other rosin infused, beverages? Nope. They're the only ones we're aware of. And then not an hour later, I see Dabble posting that they've got, what is the product called again? Do you have it up?
It is. I do have it right here. Oh, I'm on an age gate now. I've got to get in here. Give me 1 second here.
Are you old enough?
What year was I born? 1927. There we go.
There you go.
So they're high. So one of them's called Hydrate.
Oh,
and
Hydrate.
The other is Sweet Tooth.
No, the sweet tooth is not derived from live rosin, I believe. But the other Hydrate beverage is. Is that correct?
Yeah, the Hydrate is a sparkling concentrate. Looks like, what's the flavor here? Sorry, I've got it really small on my screen. Laying down cannabis. Purple Punch Wildberry Lavender. That sounds delightful.
It does.
Delightful.
And, for us, it's always, that's great, but is it available where we can get it? So now we need to reach out. We'll reach out to Alana and see where. Are there any beverages available on medical platforms? I don't know if I've ever seen any.
I don't think I've seen any yet, but we should definitely
Shipping
about that and find
shipping
out.
must be a bitch.
Yeah, I can imagine it's not great.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well,
Let's get. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, yeah, we should be cautious of time just given we have two guests today.
We have two
Glen
guests
Coyle
today.
on.
Very excited about both. We're going to bring Jeff in here in just a second. We'll talk about the work that he's done with Borrow and Beyond, and obviously consumption spaces and lounges, that sort of thing. But very excited as well to have Canadian veteran Glen Coyle on. Been waiting for this. The coolest guy, most humble of individuals, and wow, does he ever support Canadian veterans? So super excited to have that or have him on. But let's first let's bring Jeff in. Let's talk consumption.
Sounds great.
All right, welcome back. We're joined by Jeff Curtis of TruQuartz and Borrow and Beyond. Jeff, thanks for joining Legacies, man. How you doing?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Of course. We're doing well. It's a little earlier for you, though. You're in BC.
8:30. I've been up earlier.
You've been up earlier. I mean, most people that are running any sort of business are typically up and at it and getting their shit done. But one of the reasons that we wanted to have you on is, you've been very vocal and active in the consumption space, right? And really pushing for change. You guys do a lot of different pop-up events, that sort of stuff, and dab bars. And obviously you've got your wares available online, which is beautiful. And just so you know, Wes is now a dab master, a self-proclaimed dab master. He's waded into that world of dabbing. But we, on the heels of, we were talking earlier in the episode about sampling potential, but I think will happen. Sampling changes happening in BC. We know in Ontario, it's the wild, wild west still. It's just samples, like Oprah Winfrey fucking handing out samples all the time. But some interesting things potentially happening. But you've mentioned you're more for an open market. Explain that a little bit.
Yeah, so we opened our shop kind of to support the cannabis industry. And by shop, I mean we had from 2015 to 2018, we had a gallery that we had all these high-end pipes and basically all focused on dabbing. We had an upstairs that was like its own consumption space, that we had a permanent dab bar installation. And basically 2015, around that time to 2018 pre-legalization was the Wild West in Vancouver. Even down back to 2011 till that time, I used to go to dispensaries since 2012, and I really love to support that market, seeing all the people that were thriving because of the cannabis industry in Vancouver. We provided photography, the dab rigs, we did showcase events, we had, we would get extractors and growers in our upstairs, collab them together and have like a concentrate release party at our dab bar in our upstairs. And then it was really hush hush and underground. Basically, your only ticket that you would need to get into an event like that is have a high end dab rig for yourself, or be the one that makes the dabs, or be a grower. And then it's kind of like, all right, you're into this club. You know what I mean? But that was kind of the free market that we came from. It was a beautiful time, and that's kind of something we've been pushing for more and more nowadays. Like, we want to see in, we don't mind the fact that, there's paperwork and other stuff involved now, but we just don't want to see it so restrictive to the consumer. We don't want to see it so restrictive to the retailer. We don't want to see it so restricted to the producer as well. In BC, they put on a 15% wholesale markup even for the farm gate and the direct delivery people.
Jesus.
And no matter what, if you buy from them, you buy direct, you're still paying that 15%. And it's driving a lot of people away, because retailers ultimately in the end have to add that on top. And, in beer and wine, their distribution is 3 to 5% wholesale markup from the distribution. Right. And, to see our market choked, and to see people like the retailers, like I had a retailer call me yesterday that I did some work for with like our videography, like kind of around 420 time. He called me, he's like, man, we got to do something. Like I can't, he's like, it's not a sustainable business model for me to be one of the only cannabis retailers in my town, but still have to dump money from my other businesses into it to keep it to survive. Jeez. And it's like, these people were lured into this industry with the promise of being able to transition over. But, I was at the Stratcann event too, and one of the growers said, hey, like, I have no choice but to keep doing this, because I don't have enough money anymore for an exit strategy like I used to. And to keep growing, like, I'm only just breaking even and like putting a bit of food on my table. And like, for the grower to say that, for the retailer to say that, and the consumer being pushed over to the black market, or the gray market, I should say, because I don't like calling it the black market, because that's...
Yeah, we call it the gray market, but it's the black market.
But it's pushing consumers over that side, and to see the people that I supported back in the pre-legalization days switch over, and then put an example. Okay, the BC government has an 8-store cap, and the BCLBD has opened like way more than 8. I mean, if you look up how many BC cannabis stores there are, like, started by the government, it's astonishing. And the fact that they sell for basically their wholesale price, while the mom and pop shop across the street.
How can they compete?
Right?
Like, what the hell?
So there's a buddy of mine that opened a shop, said once the BC cannabis store like opened up, he said he lost like hundreds of thousands of dollars in sales a year, because and then people will come in, oh, I can get that just around the corner at the government store for much less than you're selling it for. So like I don't know, it's not really an open market that I'm advocating for, because I also do believe there should be some oversight. There was a lot of crap on the black market before legalization. People were getting away with a lot of shiesty behavior, shiesty practices. But now, to be able to have a system where everything is lab tested, you're guaranteed not to have a certain level of these kind of chemicals or mold or anything like that in the product. That is a wonderful thing that legalization has brought us. I'm not saying that legalization is the worst, but the way that they've gone about it, with just complete lack of oversight, complete lack of consultation of how things should actually be, it just, like, it blows my mind.
Seems like they just want to chart their own course. But I did not realize that the provincial government is direct. We have it in Ontario, but they don't have brick and mortar stores, right? So the OCS, obviously, you can buy online.
They dropped that, right?
What's that?
Like did they have
Yeah, well,
stores
originally, yeah. So Ontario originally, no. So what it was going to be was it was all going to be OCS controlled online. And then I think Doug Ford, Wes, correct me if I'm wrong, but then the Doug Ford government came to power. They said, no, we're going to do OCS brick and mortar. And then they said, well, no, hold on. Let's just, we're going to allow private retail as well. But we're going to do so through a lottery system. And they started to roll that. And they went, no, hold on. Let's not do that. We're going to do OCS online and allow brick and mortar. It's basically open market.
At one point,
yeah.
At one point, I'm pretty sure it was also, we're not going to do that. We're going to do everything through the LCBO. Do you remember that?
There was talk of that as well.
Yeah.
So there is competition, direct competition from the province at the OCS level, but as OCS.ca, the numbers are decent. So there is direct competition. But in BC, you've got brick and mortar versus brick and mortar. And when you've got a mom and pop trying to compete with the BCLD selling at damn near wholesale, that's wrong. Right.
But they don't even have a mandate to make a profit either. So they're basically just wasting taxpayer dollars while barely breaking even and then crushing local business. It's the weirdest
sense.
It's the weirdest system. And, they've been doing it with the liquor as well. Mom and pop shop has been struggling to compete, but at least they don't have a 15% markup that they have to eat on top of what they have to make, right?
But between the markups and the various fees that need to be paid, creating all of these gates, like, is it not, you've already touched on it, it's kind of pushing some people back to the illicit market. But the problem that I have the most with it, I think, is, we try to do everything we can to destigmatize or reduce the stigma in this industry. And when you continue to just block and tackle, like, it's not doing any good. And again, you've been very vocal, very upfront about the position of, listen, we need consumption zones, we need spaces, we need lounges, we need, these dab bars should exist, these pop-ups should exist. But when you've got retailers that are struggling, because that's where a lot of this would come from, and the support that I would think that you see and you work with is at the retail level, man, that's painful. That's really painful. So how do you advocate for change? Like, where do you start?
So we've been doing a few different things. Just we've been pushing for a few things like consumption spaces on a local level. So I'm in a place that's about a 30-minute drive from Vancouver. It's a small, not small anymore. It's growing extremely quickly, but it's a suburb in the Tri-Cities called Coquitlam.
Okay.
And it's a very, like, it's not like Vancouver. Let's just say it's very, like, it's different. You know how it is in the suburbs versus like Toronto, right?
It's like me. I'm outside of Toronto. I get it. When I go to Toronto,
and then,
it's wow, look at this. But
people can just be weird, and the government doesn't want to do anything to change anything. They're just very, like, stuck in their ways. So we joined the Chamber of Commerce here locally. So on the consumption, I'll touch on a couple of things. Consumption side, we joined the Chamber of Commerce in the Tri-Cities, which is Coquitlam, Port Coquitlam, and Port Moody. And we actually got the CEO to write an open letter calling for consumption spaces for cannabis to benefit the community and the business, like, community at large, and saying that it's, good for tourism dollars, good for business, all of that. And then we've been attending a lot of, like, government meetings and their kind of chamber events and stuff. And it's just, sometimes you talk to them and some of them are just like, yeah, like, we definitely need that. And then you push them to help you or kind of give a hand to get in touch with the right people. They're like, no, like, I don't want to put my name on that because, whatever. Right. And then I pitched a question to, there's like all the mayors on a panel in the Tri-Cities. And I pitched the question because everyone in the audience could pitch. I said, so we need cannabis consumption spaces. We have bars, what's up with that, the response was from one of the mayors, oh, people just like to hotbox their cars. We don't want to interfere with that. And I'm just like,
oh my God.
Like, I was stunned.
Like, what kind of answer is that?
Exactly.
You're pushing for progressive change and using intelligence.
And the CEO
and
of
that's
the
a rebuttal.
chamber, the CEO of the chamber, she was the moderator for the panel. She like kind of gave me a look like, oh my God, like, you know, I know it
Yeah,
was you
like
that
this
posed the
is
question.
what you're up against here, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And so the like, so I kind of like ambushed him in the food lineup at the barbecue afterwards, and I shoved these papers into his hand. Basically, the problems we're seeking to eliminate, the benefits we're seeking to gain, and then also like the numerous letters of support we have from like Jacqueline from RCCBC, and then we have, you know, the letter from the Chamber of Commerce CEO. So we have a couple.
But is it
of things,
going anywhere? That's the question.
right? That's
like, is it?
so.
Are they
So
doing
that's
anything with this?
that's the thing, and it's like there's an election cycle, so they don't want to do anything for like the next little
fuck.
while. But you know, it's getting a lot of people thinking. You know, even one of the counselors from my city approached me and said, you know, can I have those documents? Actually, I want to spread them around City Hall to some of my colleagues. So there are some people that actually they want to help, and they have, you know, it. Like stuff like that kind of keeps us going. It is a little bit discouraging though, because they just suck sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think for us, we've always looked at, you know, if BC can change it, maybe Ontario will follow suit, right? And
Yeah.
you would think out of all the provinces, it would be BC that would jump on board with consumption lounges, events like Alberta, you know, being the first to roll
I'm
out.
so
I'm
disappointed that
what the
Alberta,
fuck?
you know,
They
having
beat you
event
guys.
licenses, having a weed garden. But honestly, like I'm really happy that that's happening. Like Ian, I'm sure Ian worked really hard to get that to happen, because I know Plant Life is, you know, I have huge respect for Ian. It's a big company with a lot of retail stores, and you know they're doing good stuff over there. So I'm really happy.
But I
to
mean,
see
now
that
it's going to
roll
take
out.
government. It's going to take government to pay attention to that and go, oh, look at the tax dollars. Look at the money
Right.
we can make off this.
But here's, I'll segue into another part. They don't want to do anything because the municipalities in BC, especially, they don't see a dime from excise taxes and things that are collected on a federal level. So some of that gets passed down to the province. I don't know if it's the same, if it's the same amount in Ontario, but they, you know, BC federal, they get a share of the excise,
Right.
but the municipalities, they don't get anything. The only thing, that's why license fees, for example, are huge for retailers in BC, just because the municipalities that are putting up these retailers, they don't see anything from it other than just, you know, license fees.
Absurd when there's plenty there to share around.
Yeah, and I think the BC government made it pretty clear that they don't really want to share at some of the meetings that they've had, and it just, to see that the government doesn't want to help create something that, you know, businesses can thrive, it's really disappointing. It kind of gives people a feeling that they've been lured into a trap, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's,
Well, it seems like that especially from outside, you know, onlookers. Like it's definitely, it's almost set up to fail.
and I've been writing letters to, you know, MPs saying like, this needs to change, otherwise, you know, and I tell them straight up, like, I go and support the black market because of what you have done to us as citizens and business owners and other people that want to participate, whether on a consumer or a producer or a retailer side. On the legal side, it's just an unsustainable environment that they've created.
Yeah. Well, and it makes you wonder too, right? So we've got friends, you've got friends, we've got plenty of individuals in the industry that have remortgaged houses, pulled capital from other businesses, as you mentioned in the early conversation. What, like, it's just a sinking hole. It's just continuing to consume money and cash. At some point, you have to go, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this. Like,
But the problem is some people are in so deep that they are unable to have an exit strategy, and they have no choice but to just hold off and hope
for change. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hope for change. My gosh. So, you know, perfect world, where do you see, let's do flip side of the coin though, too. Where do you see the opportunity, but also where, on a positive side, but where do you see it in a negative if no change happens over the next, you know, couple years anyways?
I personally see, I don't know, to me, it just, everything feels super stale.
at the moment. You know, everybody's selling the same stuff. I personally think that, you know, if certain retailers can band together and, you know, support certain growers that are making amazing stuff, you know, take it out of the hands of big corporate and put it back into the hands of the small guy that was doing big things before legalization. And to be able to have, you know, if you have a certain amount of retailers that they can support that, that grower, that extractor, whoever, and be able to guarantee a certain amount of product. And this is, you know, exclusive to this family of store, like different store brands. You know, I think creating those tight relationships like they had back before legalization, I think that's a really good sustainable model. And then that guarantees, you know, that guarantees that customers will look for that product at those stores. And then also the grower will be, you know, guaranteed that he's going to be able to sell that product and not have to sit on it. And then it'll also move as a fresher product. So that's a kind of a system that I like to see, and, you know, really good brands collabing together. I think in a perfect world though, the government would just stop choking the industry so much. And I think personally, if the excise and the 15% is just like not what it is now, you know what I mean? It's just, we just need a better environment to produce and sell in. That's the only, you know, I feel like that's the only factor that's really like killing us. And obviously the BCLDB stores, that's just heinous what they're doing to the other.
That's wild to me. And why that, I'm actually surprised. Maybe there is more people being vocal about it, but I don't see that. I mean, this is, I'm sure, Wes, in the history of us doing whatever we've done, that I would recall this, but I was completely unaware that BCLD has brick and mortar stores that compete with independents.
And they limit us at the 8 stores, and then they're allowed to have like over 100 stores.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
That's not right. Wild. And what do you think? Like, what is the government or the BCLD? And I mean, they're all the same, but what is their fear? Like, why not change it? Like, what is the actual fear? If they're selling at wholesale and not really making that money anyways,
they honestly, I just don't think they care to make a profit, and I don't think they care to support the small retailers. And personally, what I see happening more and more is there's a lot of direct delivery growers that are refusing to sell to the BCLDB. Although it is, you know, it can hurt your bottom line sometimes.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you're just completely avoiding selling to the BCLDB and selling directly to a few select stores as like a small time grower, then you know, those retailers will thrive more by being able to sell a product that you'll never be able to find at the BCLDB. And by, I think, in my opinion, if it's kind of like kind of beat them at their own game kind of thing in a different way. But I think that personally, if all the growers and extractors making fire just switch to direct delivery, which in itself is a huge headache. And if you produce over a certain amount, you cannot sell direct, which is, you know, like Rubicon Organics, for example. But if we're able to choke out the supply at the BCLDB level and, you know, put it back into the hands of the private retailers, I personally think that would make them kind of listen a little bit more by kind of being like, if you guys want to play our game, then we're not going to play your game.
Right.
But
and that's got to be tough that's a tough call to make, right?
But
so obviously that would work.
The thing is, they don't care because they're still getting their 15% every time that you know.
You still go ahead, choke us out. So we'll make 15% off of doing nothing then.
Exactly.
Fuck. Like, that's just, it's so wrong. But, and that's the way, like, I'm seeing hope as you're explaining that. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Choke them out. Like, don't supply them. Which is very difficult because on the producer processor side, obviously you've got bills to pay, right? So you want as much distribution as possible, but.
And if they say like, okay, yeah, we'll take 3 pallets of your stuff, then it's kind of hard to say no to that. So that's the other flip side, because the growers, they have to move their stuff,
Yeah.
right? And so they're
Well,
still
even
in
in the
this
illicit
situation.
market, you're going to take 10 pounds versus someone taking a QP. Yeah, I'm going to you, right? I'm
Yeah.
definitely going to you. So I see it, but it's just, that is such a flawed model. And I know the direct delivery method is very chaotic for these producer processors. Like,
There's so much paperwork,
so much extra
so much
work.
paperwork too.
Yeah. Fuck. Come on. BCLD, you got to make it easier. What the fuck? This just doesn't make any sense to me. Anyways, let's move over a little bit to just understanding your companies. Where, you know, we'd be remiss without having you plug that at least for us so we can understand. Because TruQuartz, I mean, it's fucking beautiful glass you've got available, man.
I appreciate that. Yeah. So I'll just kind of walk you through the timeline a little bit. So we started as a gallery, as I explained, in 2015 to 2018. We had numerous glass shows, like sold out of like all of them same night, pretty much. Had Dab Bar and all that. And then we wanted to, after legalization, bring that to stores. So we started wholesaling the glass art to the stores. And then to go along with that as well, we developed TruQuartz in 2020. So we actually, like, my wife is from South China and her parents live 30 minutes away from a quartz manufacturer, which they now have a small stake in. So basically it's almost like a family business now.
Yeah.
But so we supply the highest quality quartz tubing that we can find. And then they produce high quality quartz bangers. We have like 23 or 24 designs now.
Oh, wow.
But all of them are pretty equally popular. So that was started in 2020, kind of during the pandemic. We actually saw, because of the pandemic, we saw the kind of glass art kind of just start to diminish in sales a little bit, unfortunately. But that's just the way the economy, they're kind of luxury goods. So,
Sure.
but everybody needs a banger. It doesn't matter whether you have a $20 piece or $20,000 piece. Everybody needs a nice banger to, you know, so we have at TruQuartz as the Instagram, or TruQuartz.com for the website, which we still have a little bit of a 7/10 sale, but I'm not sure it'll still be on by the time this airs. But
Okay. Well, we'll see what we can do. We'll get it up on screen for sure. And then on the Borrow and Beyond side.
yeah, so nowadays with Borrow and Beyond, we're really focused on media. So I actually have, you know, a really nice Canon camera, all sorts of lenses, and we do anything from weed facilities, weed photography. Now we also do restaurants, food trucks, festivals,
Oh, cool.
events, corporate commercials, headshots, like literally everything. So I've been taking pictures for glass art since we opened up, even just before that, 2014, I got my first camera. So I've been taking thousands and thousands of pictures of all the thousands of glass pieces that we sold. And learning to take pictures on glass art is the most difficult thing, I tell you. But after figuring that out, it's, you know, I could apply it to everything else. And I have
It's a science now.
Right. Yeah. So I have a big interest in video as well. So I've been diving deep into that. Been doing all sorts of recap videos for events, things like that. And then we also have the advocacy, which we, you know, get in front of government. We write letters. We try to connect the dots. You know, Bo from Able BC, they're kind of the Association of Beverage Licensees. They work a lot with governments, with hospitality and liquor, and now a lot with cannabis. And they've been mentoring me on how to talk a little nicer to government people when I'm trying to get my point across, because I can be a little bit like, why aren't you doing this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So between, you know, TruQuartz and the media are our biggest focus right now. And then we also have the Dab Bars. We want to rewrite Serving It Right, which is our alcohol service certificate, to include cannabis consumption and possibly cross consumption, because people are already drinking a beer and smoking a joint since forever ago. And, you know, to be able to actually serve somebody in an environment like that, and understand cross consumption.
Well, the government is very afraid of that. Cross consumption. Oh, God, you got to keep them separate.
Meanwhile, you know, everybody's all doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's being able to understand, you know, from a server perspective, how to make sure somebody's safe. You know, because it's all about harm reduction for us, and that's a big reason why we do our Dab Bars, is because, you know, everybody's heard a story, or, you know, heard from somebody directly, or a friend of a friend, whoever has said, I will not try a dab because my friend got too fucked up or I got too fucked up or, and I don't know, I can never, and then I just say, just trust me. I know, you know, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah,
And
I'm a professional.
so like I personally have been dabbing since 2012 and I don't really smoke flower at all. Like I haven't actually smoked flower for years because it's just, I get really asthmatic for days afterwards. It's just, I can't handle the smoke. So I love my dabs. That's also why we did TruQuartz, because I wanted all these different designs that I like that I can share with other people for, you know, good quality, good price, you know, includes like all your little extras and there's even a warranty on it, you know, the whole 9 yards.
Nice.
And we're kind of doing things from a service perspective versus, you know, just focusing on the product. And people, you know, they love our customer service too. But
very cool.
So that's, I'm all about the dabs and supporting the dab industry. And that's why we have that's why we have our dab bars. We just want more people to have a chance to try it in a safe environment that they're going to really just have a good experience and not have to worry about am I going to get too fucked up factor. Because I can give someone just the tiniest little bit at a low temperature that'll just blow their mind in such a good way, because they're
and
like,
not
wow,
green out, just enjoy it.
They're like, wow, I'm not even as high as if I smoked a joint. I'm like, see, like a 510 cartridge hit size or even half of that size is usually what I try to aim for, just to make sure that they have a good, comfortable experience.
Well, that's cool. I never really thought about it that way. I know for myself, it was, you know, old mindset was, oh, I'm not doing that. I ain't getting that fucked up. But now, you know, our more investigation into it. And actually it was Alana over at Dabble Cannabis Company that got us set on.
Oh, Alana's the best.
We're sold. We need to try it. And Wes went right in. I'm waiting for, as much as I would love to have more glass around. And for me, it's that process. I'm lazy.
Fair enough.
I'm lazy. Like, you know, by the time I get there, I mean, I even get upset now when I have to roll a joint, which is crazy. It's just crazy. But for me, you know, looking at the new techs versus, you know, glass and the bangers, I think that there's this mysticism about it that, you know, with the work that you're doing, I think that it helps demystify it. And
exactly.
You know, Wes has gone in, as I had said right at the beginning, you know, he's now the dab master of the team.
That's amazing.
I think, you know, just more people need to be able to experience it. And if not, you know, these dab bars and these opportunities, whether they're consumption spaces or lounges or whatever they are, you know, it's the same with trying new alcohol products. Like, they're always available. There's different methodologies. I mean, beer bongs and keg stands that go way back, right?
Yeah.
So why not?
I have an analogy that it's a bit controversial, but it's regarding dabs versus flowers. So imagine if you've taken a dab, it's like eating pizza, right? But if you're eating, if you're smoking a joint or smoking the flower, it's like eating the pizza with the pizza box. So it's kind of, you know, it's one of those things that I just tell people, look, it's like your flower, but it's just isolated.
Yeah.
You know, you get all the best parts of it, especially like hash rosin. Shout out Alana though, especially for making like amazing hash rosin. It's so good. Like that strawberry jam. Like I'd probably go through a jar of that in like a day and a half or something.
Jeez. Crazy. Well, listen, Jeff, it's been awesome having you on and explain this world, because it's an area that we don't really look at too much, but there's a lot that what I love is there's more conversations happening, right? So we may feel we're not getting anywhere, you know, all the work, you've been doing this for a long time, you're writing letters, you're speaking to MPs and mayors, and it's got to feel sometimes like, fuck, it's just it's not going anywhere, it is.
It feels like an uphill battle, but then there's these little things where, you know, someone would say like, oh, I really like that such and such that you wrote about, you know, the consumption spaces. And it's like someone in government, you know, and I'm like, wow, this is actually doing something.
Have you done any op-ed pieces where you've gotten anything published in any of the BC newspapers or online or anything like that?
Yeah, actually. So Tri-City News, Janice from Tri-City News came to our place, and she actually interviewed me, about the consumption space need and how we got in front of the government locally here and how frustrating it is. And, you know, kind of reiterating how much of a benefit that what we're trying to do once if it's implemented will be for, tourism, business, the consumers, even down to trying to eliminate problems like cannabis litter in parks and around schools. And, it's...
Yeah, because you're not seeing a ton of beer cans and shit rolling down the streets like you used to back in the 80s and the early 90s.
It's honestly gotten a lot worse because now here locally, a lot of parks, they started allowing drinking in the parks, and there's cans everywhere, and there's belligerent people.
Oh my God.
And it's almost in every park locally here. And I just kind of stood there in shock when I saw that sign on there, thinking like, how the hell is this a thing? And we still don't have a place like a vape lounge.
Safe. Yeah.
And we have, and we have safe injection sites. Yeah. I'm not gonna get into that because I know they have their place in society, especially with the crisis that we have in Vancouver and downtown around here. But
when you're inclusive with the other things and you're thinking about all the other programs and all this going on, it's like, guys, come on, like let's just think reasonably for 1 minute.
Exactly.
And then what can come of that? So continue the fight, man. We'll support however we can. Obviously, more letters, we're up MP asses. Eventually there'll be change. So we'll continue to dig into this. But we thank you very much for joining Legacies and
thank you for having
shedding some light on this. This is cool. Hey friends, guess what? It's almost t-shirt season. Are you ready? You should be rocking your favorite brand. Head on over to thehighflyer.ca and check out all the licensed cannabis brand swag that we've got available. From Odo to Victoria Cannabis Company, Smoker Farms, Royal Harvest, the list goes on. And there's more coming on every single week. Check it out, add it to your cart, and be prepped. Sun's out, guns out. All right, welcome back, everyone. We're joined by Glen Coyle.
Hello, gentlemen.
Man, let me get into it. So, Canadian Army veteran and founder of 61 Charlie. Like, dude, you've got a lot on your plate. Like, when we're going through our guest research, you were kind enough. You're the only guest so far, Glen, that has sent, here's some of the things that we can talk about. Because there's a lot, dude. It's a lot.
I think that's a military thing as well. I just wanted to, prepare you guys.
I personally love it. I love it. You were able to hone me in because, again, there's a lot. And number one, thank you for your service to our country. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you very much.
You spent quite a bit of time. And we're going to talk about 61 Charlie, which is the coolest fucking brand, but it's a platform. And we want to be very clear about that as we get to it. But I want to go back because, and we do this with a lot of our guests to understand the legacy, but for our audience to understand why you're doing what you're doing, what drives you, we need to go back. And we need to go back. I mean, 10 years of service in the military. First, I want to understand this because I have a 16-year-old boy. Okay. And he's considering, I want to go into the military. And I'm like, you know what, bud?
Wait till after this podcast?
Yeah. Wait until, but no, I can connect you with someone. So, I have friends that are veterans as well and first responder friends. And I'm like, I'm going to put you in contact with some of them. But let's start with, when did you enter the military and what was the decision? What drove you to go, I'm joining the military? This is what I'm doing.
Yeah. Easy question. 9/11. 9/11 was the time that I decided to join, and I wanted to be a part of it. I wanted to help, and I'm like, how I can't do anything from here. And I've always wanted to join the Army. My cousin was in the Navy in the U.S. And I always found like just the uniforms and everything so professional and so the training, and I wanted to do Army. I loved the movies growing up as a kid. I loved the sniper and recon and airborne stuff. I just always loved it, and that's why I joined. But the fuel behind that was definitely a reason to help.
Right.
So yeah.
Right. So it starts there. Obviously, you want to help, which makes a lot of sense as to all the activities and work that you're doing now. So what was that like? You enlist, right? And like, is it still the same? Forgive me for asking dumb questions.
Not at all. Not at all. It's a lifestyle that a lot of people aren't familiar with. So I appreciate that. And, times have changed. When I joined, it was a little bit more, swearing and a little bit more, following orders where, it was difficult. It was definitely a world change for me. My parents were surprised because in school, I didn't tend to follow orders or the rules. Well, but thanks. But I think it's a totally different ballgame and different rules that make sense for the most part, but it's drive towards a mission. And that's what I really, really liked. It was difficult. And my trade, which was infantry, we had boot camp, which everybody goes through. So boot camp is your funnel, your big, where Air Force, Navy, Army, anyone that's joining, they go to boot camp. Okay. So you do your boot camp, which is a couple months. And then from there, everybody branches off. The Navy people go the Navy way, Air Force go the Air Force way, and, same as the Army. So because I was infantry, I had battle school. And battle school was, it was hell. It was, it really, put your body to the test, exposed you to elements that, as a boy growing up in Brampton and playing hockey and, I thought I was tough, but man, our climates are, they're cold. Canada's cold. And, that's one thing I won't miss about the infantry is being, in the minus 30s, 40s, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
So, but I loved it. The people that I met, I would not change it for the world. I would not change any.
Well, and that's one of the things that we've discussed even in previous conversations, but also from just what I know of, my friends that are veterans, and it's the camaraderie, it's that attachment. They become your family. You put your life in their hands, and you become family. And
absolutely,
those are relationships that will last a lifetime.
And they have.
So not only, and not only are you supporting each other, during training, basic training, and going through all of that, then you get deployed, right? So help us so you spend your time through boot camp and then, infantry training. Where were you? Minus 30. Like, where the hell are they sending you?
Oh, we've gone a lot of different places. The Army does training in Nepal. We do training in the Arctic. Like, we see some just completely opposite ends of the scale with temperature, from the hottest to the coldest.
Yeah. I couldn't imagine. I really couldn't.
It's, what, it's all inclusive. Meals pay for it. No, but it's from battle school, you go to your battalion. And my battalion, unbiased, but my battalion was I'm very proud. I'm a very proud 1RCR, 1st Battalion of the Royal Canadian Regiment. And it was everything that I kind of thought it would be. It was, there are some hardcore, amazing people that the leadership was incredible. The people I was trained by were not only remarkable soldiers, but they were good people. They had a heart. And I think in the infantry, the bond is so close because everyone joined for a reason. What the dangers are. You're not naive to, I'm never going to get deployed there. So the bonds that are forged out of that are, you're right, family. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, and you would almost have to be. And obviously you're gonna squabble a little bit potentially too.
Well, and that's so one of my dream job in the Army was recon. I from day one, you see guys and you see sniper, you see recon, you see airborne. And, I'll never forget being a small fish and being in that battalion and seeing the guys walk out of recce recon and just so cool looking, so badass, and nobody could go in those doors. You weren't allowed to go in those doors. If you weren't recon, you don't even look at those doors. And that was from day one. I'm like, I want to be in. What was so cool is cool to me, but they were the only people, recon snipers are the only people that were allowed to wear black toques, like black beanies.
Oh.
And everyone else had to wear the uncomfy, itchy,
the standard issue wool, green wool.
And I'm like, yeah. And I'll never forget it. I remember seeing who ended up being my sergeant, funny enough, walking out of those doors. And I'm like, that's what I want to do.
So how does that work in the Army? How do you become part of the reconnaissance group? Is it group, or they just call it you're part of recon? Like,
Yep, it is a platoon, and then from there it gets into a det, which is a detachment.
okay.
But I knocked on the door and I said, "Hey guys, I'd like
This is the door you're not supposed to even look at.
Yeah, don't you look at that door." To be honest, it's a tough process because you need to have courses before you could even apply. You need to top courses even to get recognized.
Wow.
So I had to take certain courses. I had to have certain things. I had to be a gunner. I had to be a driver. I had to know how to do a bunch of different things before the recon course was even a thought. So
Wow.
it took a few years. It took a few years. It took a couple of tours, overseas, and coming back doing different courses to get to that level. And the day that I'll never forget that day. I was in Bravo company, and we were just in kind of our area, and my sergeant came and said, "Hey, Coyle, come here. You got accepted. Do you want to be on a recon course?" I'm like, fucking 100%. Like,
Don't ever apologize for swearing on this show.
You shut your mouth when you're talking to me. It was honestly a surreal feeling, and
Wow.
it was everything that I wanted to do, and then we started a course, and it was the toughest thing that my body has ever had to do.
Jeez.
Yeah, it was.
I
don't know if
and so
you're
you'd already
familiar.
done. No, and I want to understand it, but so you'd already had to do a couple tours, and obviously it's it's not even close, but I'm liking it too. You've got through high school, but you want to do this now. You got to get these courses. You got to do this. You got to
Yes.
do this, and
Yeah,
people from the outside, outward onlookers, they would look at it and go, "Oh yeah, you just join and." Away you go, and not realizing there's still more education, more
Exactly.
education, pass, fail. So I could just imagine the delightment of, hey man, you're in. Like, what,
Yeah.
do you find the local Army bar and go party? Like,
Well,
what happens at this point? Like, what?
So you're not in. You
Oh,
have the
okay.
opportunity to take the course.
So you got a nod. That's all you get so far. You get a bit of a nod. Yeah. Okay.
So the course itself, just to give you an example, within the first day, there was 10 guys gone.
Holy
And these are guys that wanted the course. They
Yeah.
tried, so a lot of people hurt themselves, which they would, get a later chance to apply down
Sure.
the road. Some people just couldn't do it. Some, for whatever reasons, we started off with a high number and we finished with a very low number.
Wow.
And that is, that's what I love about recon. And that's what I wanted.
Mhm.
And so I'll let you, I'll let you talk
So,
about the course.
Yeah, but so help us understand, even for myself, I mean, I could understand somewhat of what is reconnaissance within the Canadian Army. What are you doing?
So reconnaissance is gaining intel, any information on a target, an objective, and relaying that back to a battalion, platoon. So in short, we would get in very close proximity to a target, Afghanistan. We would get very close to the Taliban. We would have to make sure exactly what was there we relayed, because there was times, we received bad intel, and instead of 15 people, there was 150. So that's a very important job, is to relay whatever's going on and relay that back to battalion.
Yeah, not only important, but I would say probably quite dangerous as well.
It is, and that was the only difficult part for me. Was my parents and my mom knew how difficult it was.
Yeah,
And how dangerous it was,
Well, and you have kids, and going through what you've gone through, and now I'm considering, and I'm like, listen, great opportunities. Some of the best people I know are retired or are veterans, and it really shapes you. But
Definitely
in the
me,
back
yeah.
of my mind, I'm looking at it going, Jesus, like, you're a parent, Glenn. Like, could you imagine, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. So I could just imagine what your mom would have been thinking at the time. Like,
I can't. I don't, because I have kids and the love I have for my
Yeah.
kid. Like, I could not imagine.
Yeah.
So that was
Yeah.
well, I selfishly wasn't doing it I was doing it because I wanted to help.
Mhm.
And I know that position, that's a lot of help. And the people
Right.
that were with me, we were doing something very, important, meaningful,
Mm-hmm.
and to genuinely help out.
Right. So within recon, where were your tours? Did you spend the vast majority of the time in Afghanistan?
Yes.
Yeah. And so just give us perspective on the timing in that, what years?
2006, my first tours, basically they divided our battalion, sent some to Bosnia, some to Afghanistan on the first tour. But between 2000 and 2008 were the time spent deployed overseas.
Mhm.
Majority of
Okay.
it was focused in Afghanistan.
Right, right. So, during that time, obviously, you get to come home once in a while, right? You're not there full time.
Oh
are you?
no, that's
No,
what
yeah.
people think. Like, oh, you're in Afghanistan for years. Like, no, you're in Bosnia for. No, it's again, it's a job,
Mhm.
and you go to work and you come home, and sometimes you have training for months, and
Right.
but
What was
I
that?
did.
We see this a lot in movies and the way it's portrayed, and some, again, unless you've experienced it, unless if you've been in the military, you wouldn't necessarily know, because they can just be feeding us whatever they want.
Yeah.
But during that time of return, I think I see PTSD, right? It's real. And, for some, it's very difficult for them to readjust to, this is kind of life, but that's not my life, because I've been so exposed. I've been so exposed to the other world. Like, we take for granted our freedoms and our liberties and everything that we have. We haven't lived that. We haven't been overseas. We haven't been deployed. We haven't, had to get close to a high risk environment and report intel back. We've never had to do that. Is it difficult? Like, is that so? Obviously you're coming back and you still have more training. You're doing stuff when you're not with your family, but what is that adjustment like?
Very difficult.
Yeah.
And again, I talk to people about that, and they're like, I've never had to see that, and nor should you. That was
Mhm.
my choice. I wasn't
Right.
forced. I signed up. I knew what I was getting into. And I would try to protect my family and friends of knowing that and seeing that or hearing that.
Right.
And that's kind of why I kept doing what I was doing, because I knew that Canada is a beautiful place and we have so much here to be grateful for.
Mhm.
And I never wanted to tell anybody the negative or, things that I saw. And I'm still like that, because I still believe that Canada is a beautiful place,
Yeah.
and I know a lot of people complain, but it is, and it can be so much worse. We
Oh,
have
God.
a lot to be grateful for.
Yeah. And I think people forget that, right? We can bitch and moan about, current government and, these policies and those policies and taxation and all these things. But I mean,
Hey,
take it from a veteran. You've seen what the breakdown looks like. You understand where the fall and rise of different governments take place and what the effect on the population and the people and their liberties are firsthand.
it was an eye opener. My first tour in Bosnia, and we say that like taking for granted. I took for granted when I was younger being able to walk to school.
Mm.
And I was watching, we were in a vehicle in Bosnia, and we were never supposed to go off the road. There are so many landmines planted around Bosnia to this day, and I'll never forget this. I was watching a girl walk home from school, and she went strategically or counted her steps. I'm like, the hell's she doing? And she was going like almost like tic-tac-toe, and my sergeant's like, that's where the landmines are. I'm like,
Oh my God.
are you kidding me? You have to say, like, your kids go to school with the potential of stepping on a landmine. Like, I was pissed when I didn't get my lunch. I don't know. So that's what I mean. And that's stuff that
Yeah.
I don't want anyone to see or, and I do it too.
Yeah.
I complain at like everybody else, it's
We're
very
humans.
easy to forget. Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Wow. So I don't want to dwell on any negative. I do want to focus on the relationships you've built that's led to what you're doing now. Tell us a little bit about Afghanistan, because all we saw was, unless you've had veteran friends that have explained stuff, but a lot of them, and again, similar to you, they're not going to go into the negative, and I can't blame you one bit. Why trigger that? But tell us about some of the positive, the camaraderie, the family that you've built and established and now have long-lasting relationship with.
absolutely. So first off, guys, overseas, all include your meals, beautiful beach, minus the water, but a beautiful, a gorgeous.
The beach, you can walk up to your waist forever.
Man, it's but honestly, overall, beautiful country. Like, and I say that because there's mountains, there's green, there's visually, it's a beautiful, beautiful country. It really is.
Wow.
And it was a difficult tour, but there was so many bonds and relationships, and like I take so much of the good with that, and the camaraderie, but also the humor, because you got to, right?
You have
and
to. I could imagine.
there's one story I do tell, and because I think it's funny. So I think it's funny, but then people are, they kind of look at me and I'm like, yeah. So I'll try it out here. So we thought we were being ambushed. I know, right? Weird way to start off a story. Like, but just hear me out. So we were, it was nighttime because we only did patrols at night, recon through, with thermal through, anyways, night vision. That's what we did. That was our thing, our shtick. And we were in a village that was abandoned, and all we heard, so eerie, were the sounds of like TruQuartz. But right, I'm like, shit. And we thought we were being surrounded, and we thought we were going to be ambushed. So everybody was tense as shit, including myself. Like, is this it? And I go to my sergeant. I'm like, I got to break this tension. Like, this sucks, right? So I'm like, Sarge, he's like, what's up? Is he something like, and everyone kind of listened in. I'm like, what do you guys think of the whole Nick Lachey, Jessica Simpson fiasco? And everyone just started fucking bursting out laughing. I'm dead serious. And I'm like, shut up, right? So I took that situation that I thought was probably the last day on earth, and I made it into, I had to. And that was what I was good at. And I'm still good at that, doing the comic relief.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so there are some funny times that just, like stick out, and those funny times are enough to, to keep you going.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a skit right out of a Michael Bay movie. Right
No
there.
shit.
That is.
No shit. Oh my God. I could just imagine. Like,
okay, sorry.
So-
One more, which I really think you guys will
as
appreciate.
many as you want.
No.
As many as you want.
You'll appreciate it because we were in the middle of a pot field, and like to the ceiling high with like sativa grown cannabis, which I had no idea at the time. And we were this was actually we were in a firefight, and it was bad, and there had to be predator. There was predator watch, and we called in. It's called Hellfire, and they couldn't. We were so close to the position, they didn't know where we were, and they were going to drop Hellfire. And they said, basically, do something to make yourselves noticeable now. Like, so two separate groups, 3 and 3 were separated in the pot fields. And our sergeant goes, get down on the ground and start doing snow angels. So all you must have seen from aerial in the pot field is a bunch of guys doing snow angels. Right? Like, how funny would that be, like, later on? But I mean, we're doing snow angels surrounded by pot fields, and then it came over like, okay, 6-1, we noticed kind of then, but
Well, yeah, because obviously you can't throw flares or anything up like that. Like,
right? We're that close, and doing
quick, someone
snow
roll
angels.
quick,
But it
someone
was
roll a
good
joint.
thinking. Yeah, right. Like, but it was really quick thinking. Actually, I never thought about that on my sergeant's behalf. But it was very clever.
Yeah. Well, and so that does. That leads me to, what did you see? Like, so obviously we know Afghanistan big with poppies, and there's cannabis, and it's very prevalent. There's a lot of export. There's a lot of black market activity happening, and we know that that happens. What was that like? What was the situation? Did you see it? Did you encounter it?
I did.
What was going on?
I saw it for the first time. I saw how cannabis was used properly.
Okay,
That
Explain.
was the start.
explain that.
Because my position in the Army, it was like, don't even think about smoking pot kind of thing. And, we didn't. But overseas, I saw firsthand how it's used as an anti-inflammatory, as they don't have Tylenol. They don't have Advil. This is what they're using for medical benefits, to treat certain things. And it was just such a, nothing what I'm used to, because how it was treated, back in Canada.
Stigmatized and
Just completely
illegal. So going into it though, were you pro or anti or just kind of neutral cannabis? Like you?
I was shocked, to be honest.
Yeah.
I saw kids with, broken arms, missing limbs, like using cannabis. I'm like, what is, and then it triggered something, like they're using it to help. And that was the first time I'd ever saw that firsthand.
Wow. Jeez. It puts into perspective because again, we've been indoctrinated with the stigma, and cannabis is bad. Myself, a consumer for 30 plus years. For me, it was always, super paranoid, growing, selling, doing whatever I had to do with it. But it was always under this paranoia, this level of paranoia, always. And there still is to this day a certain amount, regardless of legalization. But for you, was that what when you hear that, it's part of their culture, no different than Morocco and some of these other areas throughout the Middle East. But that is it. Like they don't look at aspirin. And I think that, what is that, derived from white willow, but still they would use white willow in certain tribes and that sort of thing. But
They don't have access.
There's no access. They're not going to a local pharmacy.
No,
I mean,
use
this
what
is
you have. And that's exactly what they did.
crazy.
Yeah.
What
So
a
that
different
was,
perspective.
it was, and it was, I'm glad I got to see that. And that's, I think later on where my passion came from, because I saw it firsthand.
Yeah. So let's move into that a little bit and understand the formation of 661 Charlie as a platform, because again, I want to say it as a platform, and we need to be very clear about this, because while you have 61 Charlie, there's apparel. It's so much deeper than apparel and cannabis, which is rolling out as well. This is a platform. Help us understand where it came from and the vision for it, but also what's driving you.
Good question. I get asked, what is 61 Charlie? 61 Charlie was my call sign. 61 Charlie was who I was in reconnaissance overseas. That was my group. So I felt it, no better fitting to name my company what I want to accomplish and what I want to do in helping veterans and still serving and empower them. I'm like, it's kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And I thought it still had a military feel to it. And from day one, I've always thought it was a badass name,
Oh, it certainly is that. It certainly is that. Well, even before, and I've joked with Wes and said this before, I get onto the site and the apparel is absolutely beautiful. We'll make sure that everyone has links to all of that. But I almost feel like I can't wear this. Like I would wear it to support you and to support veterans. But
no,
there's something
absolutely.
in me that I'm like, I feel like I wasn't in 6-1 Charlie.
Oh,
I
no,
wasn't in the
please
military.
don't feel like that. Because that's, no, I created 6-1 Charlie to help and empower. And I want people to feel like that. I want people to feel empowered and confident. And by no means is it just meant for military and first responders. It's meant for people. I have friends that were never in the military, but man, did they ever support me, and they love me, and I love them as a person, as a friend. So absolutely, this is for you. This is for brothers and sisters that I serve with. This is for my family. I got some stuff for my dog, because I got to get him looking badass. So
yeah, no doubt.
But no, it's with everything behind it. It's exactly what I'm trying to accomplish, and I want that. I do appreciate you saying, I don't know, it's just like an Army thing. It's not. It is for, you know, you guys even having me on as supporting. That's a huge deal. And this is a very big deal to me. And I'm very thankful.
Well, we appreciate that. And we'll continue to support, obviously, and we want to get into more. We're going to keep talking about this. So 61 Charlie is a call sign. You even mentioned it when you're in the cannabis fields, right? Where they're going to rain down hellfire in the radio back. Go, okay, 61 Charlie, we know where you are now. Okay, we got it. We see those big pot angels.
I should have made that right the poster, right?
We need to find that. I need to figure out a way to recreate that. I'll get Wes, make note. We'll figure that out. We'll get something back to Glenn. So you come up with the idea. What came first? I need to support. I need to help veterans. I just need to help. And then 61 Charlie, the idea and the concept behind of it was born then, or was it vice versa?
No, it was exactly that. It was I got out of the Army, and I was very fortunate to get to go construction work, and you know, I was taught by the best. I was actually working for Mike Holmes on the show Homes on Homes.
Oh wow!
And
what's he like in real life?
He's awesome. Awesome guy. Yeah, he is. I'm still friends with his entire family. Like they're great people.
Very cool.
And they've taught me a lot. After that, I felt, you know, a calling. How can I help? How can I help and feel that I'm actually doing something positive, you know? And honestly make my brothers and sisters proud. I personally found that cannabis helped me with PTSD. And again, this is something that I'm like, I'm not trying that, not a chance. Because my entire military career, that was like, don't even think about that. Not only will you get kicked out of recon, there was guys that got sent home from Afghanistan for smoking pot. Done, no medals. Jeez. Like, do not even think about that. So for me, actually trying it was a big deal.
And what was that process? Because I want everyone to understand, like, you know, vets coming out of the Army and trying to return to somewhat of a normal life for yourself. And I think construction, trades, that's an obvious go-to. A lot of support in those areas to be able to accept veterans in and help retrain if necessary. But when you came out, you were fortunate enough to go and work with the Holmes family and Mike Holmes directly. But for others, you know, obviously you're dealing, right? You're coping. This is a completely different life than the last 10 years I just spent. Was there, you know, because I understand Veterans Affairs, I understand, right? And there's different programs. There's a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of frustration. There's a lot behind that. And in a lot of cases, and I know this from experience with friends, they're not always recommending cannabis. It's, oh, you need this pill, you need this drug, you need to do this, you need to take this, and you'll have a normal life. Don't you worry. And that's not the case.
It's not.
Help our audience understand that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I have, you know, I'm totally fine talking about it, but I was on so many pills for trying to treat different things that I really wasn't sure what it was, you know? And I was a zombie. I was an absolute zombie. And I did not, I'm like, this is it. Like, I don't have any life in me. And then honestly, trying cannabis was a completely different world. And I was still trying to find my way, trying to see what worked for me, what didn't, what I liked, you know. But to legitimately help with my anxiety, my PTSD for like getting outside, you know, like when my kids were young, like I didn't want to go to parks. I didn't want to interact with people. And it really helped open the door to that. I wish I know now what I knew then to kind of fast track it. And that is the driving force behind 61 Charlie. I know how difficult it is getting out. I know how difficult it is trying to navigate medicine.
Right.
And I definitely know how difficult it is finding cannabis and finding the right cannabis and finding the right source. And that is absolutely
so many,
my driving force.
Yeah, there's a lot of good points in there. Well, and I think that, so what was that? You said when you first tried cannabis, because I know what it's like to live in that zombie shell, and you know, multitude. We've talked about this before. Multitude of different surgeries and injuries, and I was on oxys, and I wasn't. I won't say I wasn't addicted. I don't know. I was addicted with not having to cope with pain. That's what I was addicted to. But for myself, I realized even again that, my cannabis consumption had helped with so much that I gradually just shifted completely into cannabis. It was oils and tinctures and smoking if I needed to. And I didn't, you shouldn't smoke. I'm like, until you fucking deal with what I got to deal with, you will get off that fucking high horse of yours. But for you, what was that first experience like?
The first experience, to be honest, I got one of my friends to try it for me. I got this shipment. Yeah, right. I got this shipment to my door. Now keep in mind, like, I'm fresh out of the Army. I got this shipment of like jars of cannabis, and I'm like looking inside, like paranoid. I'm like, am I really allowed to have this? But it was sent by Veterans Affairs, so I'm like, well, they sent it to me, so hey, get in trouble, right? But I got my buddy to try it. So I invited him over. I'm like, listen, I got a bunch of pot. You try it. So I'll never forget. So he tried like the medical, and it was bubblegum, and he tried it, and he goes, "This is a game changer." That's exactly what he said. This is a game changer. So it was that was getting into, and then I tried it, and then it honestly grew from there. My passion for like learning more about it, it's done from that, and which landed me an amazing job at Canada House, which is a platform for every veteran to go to, serving and not serving. Canada House, like the people there are salt of the earth, incredible people. And I bring up Canada House because that is where veterans will go, not just to get stripped with medical cannabis, it's the best program that has ever been built, because we have people that are trained to help navigate veterans, where to go to, what ailments to treat, what they're currently on. It's not going to a dispensary, and not that there's anything wrong with that, but I'm saying for veterans that are new to cannabis, there needs to be some education, some direction. And Canada House does an incredible job with that. Not only that, they help with benefits, getting veterans entitlements that they didn't even know they were entitled to. So it's
so needed.
It's a great place, and it's a spot that they can individually tailor a cannabis prescription to that veteran, which is incredible.
That's and gone. I won't say gone are the days, but I remember the early days. Like Wes and I, our days in Ample, we did a lot of work with Veterans Affairs and understanding insurance adjudication and what was allowed, what wasn't allowed. And Wes, being front line, he was managing all the staff for customer support. And as those individuals were interacting, you could tell that there was companies that wanted to really truly support veterans. And I'm not even talking about Veterans Affairs, okay? Because we know that there's pros and cons with Veterans Affairs. But it was at the time, the formation of a lot of these cannabis companies as they were coming out. You have to remember, in the early days, it was medical. So, our platforms were designed to be able to support that and adjudicate and understand insurance allotment and gram allotment and all of this stuff. Some companies were very genuine. I won't mention which ones were. And then others, you could tell they were just trying to capitalize on the fact that Veterans Affairs, or VAC, was prescribing or administering cannabis for veterans. And in some cases it was good. In some cases it wasn't working out so well. So it's nice to hear that, again, I've got individuals that they've been through the process. They've been through the system. And I call VAC the system because for some it's been very challenging, and for others, Absolutely. They kind of just skirt through it. But hearing the benefits of Canada House, I mean, that's what you would want. That's the only thing I could wish, not a veteran, but that's the only thing I could wish for those that have served our country, that there is some sort of a guiding light, somewhere to go to help you through. Because, again, I can't imagine. You're dealing with so much, right? You're dealing with coming back from deployment, everything you've experienced and witnessed. You're readjusting to, family life in some cases, or just life in general. You're on a plethora of different medications. You're trying to figure out where to fit in. So just having a group or an organization like that to support, like, it just makes sense.
It's a beacon of light. Like it is. And I can honestly say that the people working there want to be there, and they want to help, and they have a lot of them have ties to the Army, husbands, friends, parents, just, and some of them don't, but they're there to help, and they have. I think it's not even something known, but I think that Canada House has helped veterans get over $1.6 million to date.
Oh, wow.
In benefits. Yeah. It's that's incredible. And these are some veterans that there were some veterans living on the street, and now they're getting entitlements that they had no idea they were entitled to. And that's what Canada House does. And I'm very proud and honored, because I feel and I know that I'm helping where I can. I don't make the treatment plans. There's a staff of very intelligent nurses that know much more than me. My job is to just kind of tell people where it is that are looking.
Right. Yeah. Well, and it's important. We'll make sure that we've got links and information being shared with that as well, because again, like when you say you've got veterans living on the street that don't this is the part that frustrates me with the government, right? This is the one that really gets me, is our vets need help, and you just, I don't know, do nothing in some cases. Like, you should be coming out of service with exact instructions, just like you had when you were deployed. This is your mission. This is what you need to do. Why not have a home mission of some sort that says, now you need to go to Veterans Affairs or Canada House. You need to do this, you need to do this, and you need to do this. Instead, it's just wrong. It's wrong to me that you would even have veterans homeless or living on the street. I get there's different situations and different circumstances, and in some cases,
regardless, it's sad.
Right.
Yeah.
But for me, that's one of the most frustrating things, right? It's both Canada, it's US, it's everywhere.
It's everywhere. Yes, I agree. It definitely can be better. I'll say that.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure, and I'm encouraged that by the work that you're doing, and many others, because there are others, that your brothers and your sisters that have served alongside you, but even those that you say, like, they have family that are in it or not, they're there to encourage and help and assist and help you guide this, because it is a gauntlet of information if you have no idea what you're doing with it.
It's very overwhelming. It's completely overwhelming, and there's not a lot of direction, and that's 6-1 Charlie. She's not about doing all 6-1 Charlie stuff. 6-1 Charlie is to empower others. Like, my brothers are doing, and sisters are doing incredible things. My best friend's company, all okay. Like, there's just, and I gotta say this, he is the one person that the best soldier that I've ever met in my life, and he's probably the best person that I've met. Sorry, my dog.
Oh wow. That's all right.
Yeah, and that's what 6-1 Charlie does. We want to empower everybody else, And when it comes to the cannabis side, this is where 6-1 Charlie comes in as a platform. I don't want 6-1 Charlie to grow anything or produce anything. I want to find the best. I have had a good relationship with many incredible growers, cultivators, people that make just great products. And I want to give credit to where credit's due and, say, you're the best. I would love to have you on my platform. That way I give veterans easy access, as a source, as a trustworthy source.
I was going to say trusted. Trusted is key.
Yes, absolutely. And I can do that because I don't have any biased opinions. I don't belong to a company. I'm with my whole heart saying, I believe in this product. I want this on my platform. And that's the 6-1 Charlie kind of way. And I'm only going to have the best. It's not me. It's everybody else is much more intelligent than I am. They really are.
We understand what you mean.
Yeah.
Well, and I want to talk a lot more about that, but before I do, I'd be crazy not to ask you about so you've done the big march, which is 150 kilometer.
Oh man,
is it,
that was
do all you military folk go by miles? Is what I wonder. No,
we do kilometers. Yeah.
But I mean, that's still a long fucking way, dude.
Yeah.
Collingwood to Toronto, is that correct?
Yeah. I did that.
And is this
with,
a yearly? What is this?
my best friend, his name is Christian Begley, and he agreed to, we were talking one day, like, how can we do something to raise money for for veterans and specifically veterans getting out transitioning, like what can we do? And we came up with this idea. And I'm like, man, that's far. He's like, nah. And I'm like, it was far.
Yeah.
It was far, but it was worth it,
Yeah.
And I felt so accomplished. We felt so accomplished raising that much awareness, and like just people genuinely, like, it's difficult out there today, and a buck is a buck,
Yeah.
and it's very difficult to make a buck. So for people to donate to a cause that I started with my friend is incredible. There are so many amazing people out there that I am, the pleasure of hanging around. My family, my friends are just incredible. I have a
Yeah.
really, really good support effort, and I'm proud of that. And
That's
the
so
fact
cool.
that they would donate and help out it's encouragement to do something else, to keep going and to keep helping.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, I'm thinking about it because you've got that support, but meanwhile you're supporting, and it's this tiered support system that makes so much sense. And it seems what we need we've seen, throughout time, throughout history, there's different organizations that do things different ways. And at least we can see within, the veteran community side of things that this is the way that it needs to be, right? It needs to be grassroots support, supporting veteran groups that are supporting veterans.
Absolutely. I
so-
would not be here if it wasn't for my brothers and sisters. I would not be here. So everything that I do is in honor of the ones that we lost and the ones that are still serving. I'm
Yeah.
going to do everything I can to help.
Yeah, it makes sense. So I want to tell the story of, so you and I and Wes, we met, it was at Grow Up, so the Mendo Pavilion. And we know Jay Schwartz, and we know Mendo. And Jay came over right away and he's like, Tom, there's someone that you really need to meet. And I'm like, okay. So, and things were crazy. I mean, the Grow Up conference is crazy times. There's a lot going on. But
Yeah,
immediately I
busy.
was like, I'm like 6'1" Charlie. I've seen it on, throughout socials, I think. Didn't really understand the story. But the one thing that I do is there's certain individuals in my life that I take advice from. And when they say you need to meet someone, Jay is one of these individuals that I'm like, okay, I listen to Jay. Yeah, he's been, top 50 leaders within the cannabis industry. All that aside, he's just a cool fucking guy. And he's
a great
genuine.
person. Yeah.
And I love that he's just real. So he introduced us and he's like, Glenn might be a good candidate or an opportunity to bring onto the podcast. And when Wes and I dug into your story, we're like, this is a no fucking brainer. Of course it is. We ourselves have been wanting to support the veteran community and understand how we could the way that Mendo does. And this is one of the things that our audience really needs to understand. If you're tuning in and you're a veteran, check out Mendo. You have to check out Mendo. Huge supporters of veterans. And I don't just say, oh yeah, the supporters, they supply cannabis. No, it's so much more. It's not just a medical platform. It is support. So you can interact with their team. They have individuals for advisors. Their customer support is next to none as far as I'm concerned when it comes to the space. But I listened to Jay and he said, you got to meet Glenn. We finally made this work and this happen. So when you were talking about 6'1" Charlie as a platform, so yes, you have, the apparel side of things, which is where it rolled out, but now you will have under the banner of 6'1" Charlie, there is cannabis available it's available to everyone. But your primary focus is to ensure that veterans are receiving I won't say the best, because you're going to source the best that you can source. Obviously, you're going to ensure that it's yours, but it is quality that is pure for them, that they can trust. And I think that's the big thing, because I know the story of veterans bumping their medical recommendations. We used to call them prescriptions, but bumping their recommendations around from producer to producer. And, in a lot of cases, vets, they want high THC. And I understand why. As much on the backside as we're saying THC doesn't matter. If you're not a vet, you don't understand, right? That's number one. But I think having a trusted source where you're curating what works under 61 Charlie, and it will be first at least available through Mendo. Mendo being huge supporters of veterans. And the more they can pull in, the more that will get supported, which is why we support Mendo. And obviously we'll support 61 Charlie. But talk about that transition. What's that been like? And, was there a big learning curve there and understanding what the hell is all this going to take, or what's that relationship been like so far?
It's a longer process than I thought. That's for sure with Health Canada and everything. And I've been in the medical cannabis industry for 6 years, and I've been trying to create something like this for the last 2.5, and just building relationships. And there is so many incredible people that just cultivate remarkable things. And they're all over. They're in BC, they're in Quebec, they're in every province, I figured that with everyone that I know who is much more intelligent than me, I could put together a platform of incredible products from everywhere. And that's the difference, is that I am not biased. I'm not just one company. I want to take from everywhere. If you are the best, I want 61 Charlie on that bag. It's not going to be from 61 Charlie. It's going to be on 61 Charlie's platform. And I feel that that is the best way that I can help out, is to have a non-biased approach, be completely honest and transparent, and to be in it full-hearted, knowing that I'm doing this. I want to make an impact. I want 61 Charlie to be a legacy. I want 61 Charlie to make my mother proud, the people that I served with. That's why I'm doing this. And I'm trying to make it easy for veterans to go to a source and be able to get something that helps with sleep, that helps with their anxiety, that helps with depression. And again, this is just my choice. This is what I'm putting, but I'm putting it on because I've done my research. I looked into these products. This isn't just and by no means is this a moneymaker.
Yeah.
Because if I'm getting the best,
let's be clear. We're in cannabis. There is no money to be made right now.
But I had the opportunity to create 61 Charlie and have it on Mendo platform and have the best, in my opinion and my team's opinion, the best in those bags. And I'm really excited about coming out with our first drop.
Man, we're super excited about it. And I think, thinking back to, the earlier story is, you're getting a nod to Recon. It's almost, you're giving a nod to these producers and processors that you are sourcing from to go, look, this is good enough for me to brand it. Right. And what I love is that you're humble enough, because we get in this market, there's a lot of sourcing happening, and it goes, it's a brand, and a brand it's no different than Nabisco, right? And different cereal products, they didn't all grow the wheat, they sourced it, and then they put it in a box. So it's, for us, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter to us. To Wes and I am saying, there are others that are like, they didn't produce it and their brand's not on the bag, I don't want it. Well, fuck you. For us, we're looking at this going, this is, because there's a lot of work involved in as well, in just sourcing it. What are their standards? Do I align with their mission and their values and their goals of what they're trying to achieve? It's not just the highest potency at the best price, good, pack it, ship it. That doesn't exist for you. That's not the way it works.
Not at all. No. And I want to give credit. So it will be on the bags where this product is from, because again, I'm not taking credit for something that I didn't do. I am sourcing it to provide access for veterans to be able to get that. And, I have such a interesting job sometimes where I go to these facilities and I meet the cultivators and I meet the team and I see the practices. So you're right. It is not looking at numbers of COAs and seeing what the highest terpene profile to THC ratio is. No, I'm going there and I'm seeing how they grow. I'm seeing how they cultivate, their schedules, their turnaround time. I'm seeing the amount that they grow. I'm also looking at, when it comes to flower, trimming the bud. I want to see the revolving door method where they do not touch the bud. They're clipping and they're trimming and it's perfect. There's no
Yeah.
touching and removing anything.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking for to put in a
Well,
bag, because I want people to open that bag and be like, holy shit.
Yeah. And it should be. And I can tell you this, because you're so close to many more than I am, but vets have a higher standard when it comes to their cannabis in a lot of cases. The expectation of quality, the trim, as you say, was it cured properly? Was it dried properly? Hell, was it packaged properly? So I love that you're almost paying that back where, it's a nod to the source, right? But now it's, veterans, they have a trusted platform to look at to go, listen, if it's 6-1 Charlie, I can trust. This is something that, Glenn has worked hard to source to ensure that we have it available to us. So I can trust it. I'm going to try it, right? We do realize that, in sourcing, it can't always be the exact same, but, at least you're being very clear with, this is where it's coming from. These are the genetics. These are the lineage potentially. So I love that. I think it makes a lot of sense. I know there's other companies that try to do similar. I can tell you that the vast majority of them are in it for the money. And I think you know that, or trying to be in it for the money. And that's why we joke, fast forward 5-10 years, there's some money to be made. But right now we're doing it out of mission and vision and seeing where it is. But truly in your case, it's to support. I know you're not going to get rich off it.
No.
I
And
wish
don't
that
care,
for you.
and that is, thank you.
I wish that for you, but I mean, the reality is you have to build the brand. You have to get the following. If you're doing things with the right heart, the rest will follow. And I think that's the case for you and what you're doing with 6-1 Charlie.
I'm happy. My kids are healthy. I have great friends and family, and I'm doing this because I want to do it. And my whole heart's in this. I love doing the reconnaissance on these grows and these cultivators. That's funny. I just kind of paired those two. That's why I like it. But I love doing the research and gaining the information and passing that good information on. That's what I'm doing with 6-1 Charlie. And I am such a benefit where if I work with a company and a cultivator and they grow, you're talking THC. If it's 28% one grow and then the next is 20, I'm not taking that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not putting that in a bag.
Yeah.
And they will know that. Everybody, I only want the best of the best of the best. I want 11 out of 10s.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Well, and
what I
again,
want.
your consumer would expect that. Again, knowing what
And
I know,
they should.
That's what I was just going to say. They should, with everything that's, they've been through the processes to get to where they're at with it. They should. But tell us what's next. I mean, you've got, so 6-1 Charlie will be available and launching in August on the Mendo platform. And then what? How does Glenn take over the rest of Canada? What's next on the agenda?
I'm excited to promote incredible companies because there are a lot out there, and I'm looking forward. And it's going to be my first drop is flower. I'm not gonna tell you where it is. I want that to be a surprise, and everything that it's my way of saying thank you. It's my way of giving back to veterans. I want that white glove service. I want them to open that and be like, wow, that's what I want. So my first drop is coming from BC, and it's flower. From there, we're going to be, under our brand, we're going to be having topicals. We're going to be having bath bombs. We're going to be having THC-free products that actually work. And sky's the limit because there's so many amazing people out there. And I have an incredible team at 6-1 Charlie.
Yeah, that's so cool. I love where you're going with it. And I think obviously flower makes sense. We see some entrants with pre-rolls first, which I love because I've gotten lazy over the years. And it's like, as much as I love the process of breaking it down and the smell and everything that comes from it, for me, I run everything by the seat of my pants, right?
Hey,
Constantly. It's, dinner's done. This is done. Get the garbage out. Do this. Now, okay, what time is it? Okay, I'm on schedule. Good. We're sitting at about the right time. Okay, now I'm going to get a couple puffs before bed. Now we're good, right? And it's like, I don't have time to break up a bud and roll a joint. And I know, audience, you're looking at you going, you fucking lazy bastard. But
no, that's fair.
It's true.
I love blunts and pre-rolls. this is my way of showing appreciation
There's
because
purity in flower. Absolutely there is. And I could just imagine where it's coming from. I'm going to make some side bets maybe with Wes to guess where it might be coming from. But when you're choosing, let's ask you this, Glenn, when you're choosing, there's always, I'm sure you've got your checklist. Does it hit this box? Does it hit this box? You talked about, trimming methods, that sort of thing. What is the most important aspect of the flower to you?
I always go by smell, taste, feel, and I can honestly say that this is in the top 3 of the most gorgeous flower strains that I've ever seen. And
Wow.
that's why I wanted it to come out solely with flower, not like 10 different SKUs, just with this. And I want to show you what Sticks from Charlie can do.
Love it. Love it. I want to jokingly say Afghan Kush.
That would have been good, but no.
You can rename it your own. It's
yeah.
Cannabis Snow Angels.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I'm not going to rename strains or like I'm putting this on my platform because I think it is the best of the best. And
Yeah.
I want these micros, these crop growers, I want them to succeed because they're extraordinary growers, and they deserve to be on a top platform. And I want that to be my platform, our platform.
It's a tough industry for sure. And I think that's part of the issue. Like there are kind of your cream of the crop ones. But the problem is there's a lot of cream of the crop that just hasn't been churned enough yet. And the cream's not rising. And it's just because there's so much noise in the industry. And we get it. Like there's a lot to go through besides getting your license and getting your facility where it needs to be and getting your crops. And then, now you got to deal with distribution and then you got to figure out marketing. And in some cases, these are 3-4 people teams. Like,
Absolutely.
and there's some fire product out there that they're just flying under the radar and people aren't noticing them. So I love that, you have this opportunity to showcase some of these producers. I'm looking forward to it. Wes, I know, is probably looking forward to it.
I'm over here wondering when we're going to get a 6-1 Charlie Hellfire beverage is what I'm wondering.
Oh, okay.
That's not a bad. I'm not into beverages that much, but I want to be. I just haven't found a great one that I like. But I'm gonna do everything that I can, my best, reconnaissance into every product, every company, and that's where I will find and continue relationships with these small growers, these small batch that grow fire, and they're not noticed.
Yeah. So after, I would assume that you're not focused on retail, typical distribution through, OCS, et cetera, BCLD. Are you sticking to medical platforms? What's that going to, just to continue to support veterans? Or are you going to take it to the masses, if you will?
It will be always, and veterans are always first. That's just my brand. It will be on the rec market because I want it to be a trustworthy, respectable, reliable name. And I want to show people, because there is so much noise out there, I want it to be a reliable source. I want it to be an honest source, a transparent, and a source that continues to grow and look for the best products out there. And not only that, the most innovative products out there.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to do.
Yeah, I love that. I think at the end of the day, we do need to realize is that not all veterans are with a medical platform. They still go into dispensaries to purchase. And even if they are, some go over their limits and they need to go to a dispensary. And in other cases, I know some that are just so fed up with the system. They're just, they've been through the rigmarole and you forgot to sign this form or you forgot to do this. And they're just like, fuck it. I'll spend my own money. I'll go to the dispensary and I'll buy my own thing. So I think it makes sense. I don't think that there's anything disingenuous about that. I think, with your intent, you're still supporting and that's what it needs to be. And the more that you can get the brand and the platform out there, the more that they'll understand. And I do think that it makes sense to use reconnaissance somewhere in your marketing plan, because that's exactly what you're doing with these producer processors and suppliers.
I didn't really realize that until this podcast, to be honest. I really didn't think of it, the correlation, but that's exactly what I'm doing. And one of the reasons why I want it on the rec market is that there are many supporters of the military.
Yeah.
And that's also a driving force to have it on the rec market, to have a trusted source, reliable source, because, you know, there's so many products out there that are not being grown by that company anymore. And like, where
You're
does it
right.
come
Yeah.
from? Right. I want it to
Mhm.
be transparent. And,
Yeah, that
and
makes sense.
everything, you know, that goes into 6-1 Charlie will be, you know, I love hosting events and woodworking and teaching classes and teaching veterans how to build. That's, you know, that's my passion. And with 6-1 Charlie, it allows me to do that and do more of these classes and to travel and to take these classes to different provinces and teach
Yeah.
veterans and just pay it forward.
That's so cool. That's so cool. I did see, I think it was through one of your socials where you're doing the planter box, woodworking. Yeah. So cool, man.
Thank you.
It reminds me of I never did get my son to it, but Home Depot used to do
That's
the
right, the classes. Yeah.
yeah, the Sunday workshops or
Yeah.
something like that. And it's a skill that individuals forget they probably should have. But I think it's, for some as well, it's that outlet. It's a semi-distraction from, there's shit going on that I'm dealing with, but now because you got to be focused. You're running fucking power tools and shit. You got to be focused, right? So it's
Yeah.
helping with that distraction.
And
So I love that.
the best thing is seeing guys come in, because I was that guy, and they just have their armor on.
Mm.
You know, they're
Yeah.
like, they have their armor on, if that makes sense. And
Yeah, it does.
throughout the class, I'll see them take it off and smile and you know, start conversations. And then when they leave with something that they built, I can see that pride back in them, and I can see that confidence, and that's
so
exactly
cool.
what they deserve. And
Yeah.
and some of them need it, including myself, because it's very fulfilling for me to be able to do that, to
I
help,
bet.
to teach, you know, to pass on what I've learned.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Okay, so listen, we've been doing something, it's not new now. I don't know how many episodes we've done it, but what we've been doing is we get the previous guest to pose a question to the incoming guest, and they don't know who's coming in. This will be a great one, Wes. Do you have,
This would be an interesting perspective.
It will.
So last
yeah.
week we had Jonathan Wilson of Crystal Cure on the show, and the question he asked was, and it's, so think of this in relation to right now in the cannabis industry, you see it all the time on Instagram, people posting about, you know, brands posting about issues with excise tax or issues with distribution or issues with other aspects of regulations, right? And everyone's complaining, but not a lot is getting through to the consumer, right? The consumer needs to be made aware of the troubles we're going through in order for us to get them behind us so that we can actually have these regulations changed and have the government listen to us. His question was, because he had a great point of, we need to get out of our echo chamber and stop saying this to each other and start getting this to the consumer. But in order to do that, we have to bring brands and LPs, retailers together and to do some form of united message to the consumer, right? How do you think, and this would be an interesting perspective from you, how do you think, what's an idea from you on how we could do that? How could we unite everyone in the industry to create a united message to consumers?
That is a very deep and no, honestly, it's a great question, and I'm going to answer that with a question, and that being, once that information, and once, you know, if that happens, what is the consumer going to do with that information, and how is that going to change their decisions? Because it's one thing to get everybody together and to, you know, spend time, and I totally agree, because the tax in this industry it's not fair. You are crippling companies before they even get out of the gate. And it's not fair. However, that being said, if that message is passed on and consumers do know, what will they do with that information, and how will that change their decision in buying medical cannabis or cannabis products?
Mm.
Okay.
That's a good point. I think
that's
Go
an
ahead, Wes.
answer, and also the question for next week's guest, I guess, is a good, you know.
Yeah, we can use that, because that would be,
Mm-hmm.
unless you want to pose another question. It's you get the option now, the chance to pose a question to next week's guest. But you have me before you do that, and if you want to change your question, I
No,
think
that
back
would be it,
to-
because I would love to hear
Yeah.
that answer.
Like, so what do the consumers do with the information? And it's really interesting, Glenn, because I've done a lot of research. So based on, these conversations, Jonathan Wilson, I'm not sure if you know Jonathan from Crystal Cure, Living Soil, you should check him out. Number one, you're looking to source some fire flower. But anyways, he's very vocal. He comes from a political family background.
It's very
it's a
interesting.
smaller,
I
yeah,
watched the
very-
podcast. I did my
yeah.
definite research.
So, I think, and what left me from, or where I left from that was because there's a lot of chatter. There's a lot of chatter around excise tax and uniting and this and, getting out of our echo chambers and doing this. But there was questions about, well, what does the consumer do? What do we do with it? I don't have the answer to that, and I'm not going to answer next week's guest, but it started me down this path of research of understanding, pre and post prohibition for alcohol. So, call it 26 into 33 when prohibition was pretty much wrapping up, moving into an educated public, or at least platforms to educate the public on, because at the time they were dealing with similar issues, distribution, taxation on distribution, taxation on formation. But then I went even further and I started looking at the tobacco industry and the sugar industry and the sugar tax, which was crazy. And it took an informed public to unite to say, because what consumers are missing right now, and some care, some don't, right? And I would say right at the moment, the vast majority of cannabis consumers don't, because they have access. They can buy it now. They don't have to hide it. So they've got a win, and they're okay with their win for right now. They're still on the heels of that win, right? But what they're not realizing is some of those great producer processors that you enjoy may not exist in the future. But also, we're in a very tough economic situation. Every dollar counts. Every penny counts. A little relief, potentially, by way of taxation, right? Or tax relief may help there as well. But it's the way that you've posed that now makes me want to go back and understand, okay, but what did they do with this? Because there was educational programs. There was a lot of, these companies were, coalitions were formed to educate the public. But then what? Right.
Yeah.
Once they had it, did they lobby? Did they protest? What did they do with it?
What do you do?
To
You
actually
just
see
stop
and
buying
recognize
cannabis when you realize that, what once was a beautiful flower or product is now like brown and dry and has like
Right.
three Boveda packs in it. Like,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Ain't nothing bringing that mummy back. Yeah.
yeah, right. Like, oh man, where does it? And I totally agree, and I really hope that in the future that lowers, and the government plays ball a little bit more, and gives these companies. If you want to keep going, you need to allow people to work and to produce,
Mhm.
and it's such a industry where you need to pay to play. And it's very expensive to have a grow, and you have so many people that are educated that can grow. They just they can't afford it.
They're just shackled. Yeah, they're shackled
Yeah.
with so many different reasons, right? There's so many things that are affecting it. And again, we've said this quite a few times, and I'll continue to say it, is that, we're, 7 years in, right, from legalization, at least on the medical side, and then, a year later, 6 years in on the recreational side. We are still so early that I feel, Health Canada and the government, the air quote powers that be, they've really just thrown the kids a ball and said, figure it out, and you're going to squabble over it for a while. That's fine. I'll come in when it gets really nasty. And part of me wonders, is that's what's going on? Because we're still so early in it, that I'm wondering if they're just like, yeah, we'll get there eventually, but we need to hear enough from them maybe. But let's not forget all the work that's going in, the early days and even leading up to cannabis legalization, all the work in California, everything that we've seen even in the Middle East, the advocacy for safe regulated product. We see it. It's still happening, and throughout Europe. They're pioneers, and all the work going on right now within Canada, it's still and I'd say for the next 10 years plus, it's still forging new path. It's still very much infantile in a way. When we think, we don't put a lot of thought into this these days, which is, coming out of Prohibition, 33, I think it formally ended. We're almost 100 years. Right?
That's right.
We've got a lot of road to travel still.
And
I'm
to
hoping
your
we can do it
analogy,
faster.
I agree. To the analogy that you said, if the government wants the kids to play ball, you can't throw them a ball that has been chewed up by a dog and expect them to have a good game, right?
It's deflated. You guys gave us a deflated ball. There's a
You're-
huge patch on it. You can't find an air pump anywhere.
Right? You're starting these companies out half taxing. It's crippling.
Yeah.
So you need to give them a better ball if you
Yeah.
want to keep getting, what Caesars do. And I would
Exactly.
look at history for the future. I would look at what happened. What did they do to change the outcome? So how can we take stuff from the 30s? What did they do? And how can we implement that into excise tax?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, listen, Glenn, we could talk to you for hours. Really looking forward to the opportunity to hang in person again. Because the last time was like a couple minutes, which wasn't long enough. But we really appreciate you joining Legacies. We love your story. Go ahead.
Just jump in as well, just because Tom had a chance to say it at the beginning and I didn't get a chance. So thank you really for your service and everything
Thank
you've
you.
done.
Thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure having you on. I appreciate everything you've done.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm very grateful to be here. Thank you very much for having me on. I really appreciate it, and I hope that we can change the industry together. So thank you, and you guys
We're
are doing
looking
a
forward
great
to it.
job.
We're looking forward to it.
Thanks, guys.
We appreciate that. But know
Thanks,
that
man.
we'll support you as much as we can, and the platform of 6-1 Charlie. It's going to be awesome, and it's much needed. I can say that for sure. So we appreciate you, Glenn. Thank you
Thanks,
so much.
guys. Have a great rest of the week. Thanks for having me on.
Jesus, makes me want to do something else with my life.
Yeah, I feel like a real piece of shit right now. Although, I'll tell you who I wish I was. I'll tell you I wish I was that guy navigating that Predator drone, looking down in that cannabis field, the guy's doing snow angels.
We've got to figure out a way to mock up an image and send it over to Glenn. That's
Like, do you think the Predator pilot was laughing as he was calling it in? Like, yeah, dropping the Hellfire now, and he's just like laughing.
I could just, I mean, those are intense situations, right? And again, I've never experienced it, but I could just imagine. And most of what we live through movies and shows, that sort of stuff. So, but you could just imagine the intensity. They're that close. They need support. You're in a fucking huge cannabis field. Like, what else do you can't send a flare up. Like I said, you can't send a flare up. You can't really make noise. You can't, and you sure as shit don't want hellfire raining down on you. Anyways, what a cool story though. He's just such a helpful and humble dude. Like,
yeah, seems like
so
it.
cool.
Absolutely.
So
Yep.
cool. But not without struggle. Let's not forget, what we're seeing with Glenn here, he's been through enough. And you could just imagine 10 years of service to this country. And infantry is one thing, but reconnaissance, like, those are fucking crazy stories. I could just imagine. But anyways, glad that we were finally able to get him on. I know that this will resonate with a lot because I know that we do have veterans that tune in, and we thank you. We thank you for your service as well. But you've got to get on to Mendo. Get. That's where 6-1 Charlie's launching. It makes the most sense. For me, it's hands down the best medical platform there is right now. It absolutely is. And
For sure.
we've worked with a lot. So anyways, yeah. What do you think? We've got now we go into post-production. Well, you do mostly. But then tomorrow, 420 affair.
Tomorrow, big event. Yeah, get your rest tonight because you're going to be up late tomorrow, past your bedtime.
Past my 8 o'clock bedtime. Yeah, as soon as Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune end. Maybe I can stream it there. I'm actually very much looking forward to meeting the Astro Boys. I don't know what language they speak. And I do think, based on what I've seen, I'm probably going to be a little creeped out. But I guess we'll see about that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well. Anyways, thanks for tuning in, everyone. We'll see you next week.